mean, that's just sort of she's going to be the good cop, and Joe Biden is going to be the doddering cop, and then the professionals will be the bad cops, and it's going to be extremists and Jan 6th and democracy versus MAGA dictatorship, as we've been saying all week since his speech at Valley Forge, all day, every day between now and November.
Well, he's the one creating division. And if anyone's been cruel to anybody, it's his administration to President Trump. I mean, they're trying to take out his opponent, not through the voters, but through the judicial system and with all these felony charges. And they're even changing the rules in some states to even prosecute him. I mean, imagine that. And then she talked about, I think she is the complete brains behind this operation. Notice that he doesn't know where to go. He always looking for her. If she's not on stage with him, he might walk into a wall. But this is her decision to run again.
Does yet another one give you any pause, thinking of like the personal health and well-being for both of you, the division in this country, the cruelty of MAGA Republicans against your family? Does any part of you once in a while think,
I mean, the thing that...
Yeah, she's a victim.
Yeah. But she's like, we're going to do this. Like, we are going to run. Not my husband's running. We are running.
Well, I mean, that's something that... Yeah, that's just something that every spouse says. We're in this together. We think
we're pregnant.
Exactly.
Your favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. We're pregnant.
We're expecting.
That's what she said when Hunter knocked up that stripper. We're pregnant.
Oh, yeah. Why didn't Mika say... So you mentioned that you are going to start accepting that you have a 7th grandchild. Have you made communication with the granddaughter yet?
Don't you think not communicating would be cruel? On the other side, just since we're talking about these matters, Nathan Wade, Fannie Willis's beau, apparently,
lover boy, Dan,
is made an appearance. But we're getting more information. More information is trickling out about the relationship between Fannie and Nathan and the Biden White House. November 18th of 2022, the White House held an 8-hour meeting with Nathan Wade. Right. Very same day, Joe Biden's Attorney General, Jack Smith, was appointed. Garland appointed Jack Smith as special counsel.
Well, she paid her lover to take down Trump, and then they didn't even hide all these lavish vacations. I mean, they were on a cruise, Dan, with thousands of people. So they're kind of flaunting this relationship.
Well, that's not illegal or even unethical. It becomes a problem when she appoints him as special prosecutor in the case.
This is after she appointed him special prosecutor.
Yeah, but so what? So the Fulton County DA and this local yokel attorney and 22 are in communication with the Biden White House. What's that about?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't know, but it's just interesting. I mean, it could be. Oh well, we were thinking about him for a U.S. attorney, or we think that I don't know what it was, but I know where he is now. And an understanding of the relationship between the Biden White House and these local prosecutors, I think that's a fair question. Pat in Lockport, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I don't think I've ever seen the backside of so many horses in one place in the 80 years I've been on this damn planet.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely incredible. Baby boy is 53 years old.
I believe, according to Cook County Judge Tim Evans, your prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until you're 56.
Yes.
So I think that's what it is. Yeah.
In their particular case, that is probably true. These people couldn't pull their head out of their asses to save their souls. It goes from one damn bizarre affair to another. She's worried about her grandchildren? Really? That little grandbaby girl? Oh, okay. And baby boy Hunter's banging his dead brother's wife?
Yeah, he
Hello.
did do that. Yes.
Hello.
What the hell? And
Well, they're hillbillies.
And they accepted it. They said that's fine. We support him in his decision. So
Come on.
And then just drop that pebble or that rock and watch the water just ripple away. Then they can't figure out where the hell Austin is for 5, 6, 7 days.
Thanks for the call, Pat.
Well,
I had a question, though, too. I mean, I have so many questions for Jill and Joe and Hunter. What about, at least did you cut the stripper's kid, your kid with the stripper, did you cut him in on some of the Burisma money? You set up a little college savings account for him with a little bit of that Burisma money or Chi-Com money? I mean, come on, let's cut everybody in here.
And he begs her not to take his last name. The girl can't have Biden's last name. Her name's Navy. Yeah, because it'd be too hard on the girl. Really? But you know how I'm all about timing?
I mean, that actually, there is something to that argument.
Oh.
I wouldn't want the Biden last name either. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. Claudine Gay has now stepped down as Harvard's president, though she still will collect the same hefty $900,000 salary. Attempting to salvage Gay's reputation, her supporters have accused her critics of hypocrisy. They argue Claudine Gay's detractors attributed her promotion to her race and gender, and now are using her ouster to undermine DEI efforts. The claim is just projection. It's Gay's supporters who are guilty of race-conscious behavior. When Gay was named president of Harvard, it was her fans who emphasized her sex and color. She was forced out for reasons having nothing to do with either. Gay's fans charged that her critics want a world where she can't win because of her immutable characteristics. Actually, they want one where she can't lose because of them. Either would be noxious, discounting individual choices and abilities in favor of stereotypes and group rights. That's not the American way.
Oh, Dan, we have one text message. Dan and Amy, what's more tacky, couples that say we're pregnant or couples that throw gender reveal parties? That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best text message, I think, of 2024. Dan and Amy, Biden is probably wondering why the Houthis don't get back together with the blowfish.
That's pretty good. That is pretty good.
All right, Balance of Nature. Looking forward to taking it. Why? Well, I got 0 fruits and veggies yesterday, and that's why I take Balance of Nature. 31 whole fruits and vegetables, 3 fruit capsules, 3 vegetable capsules, and voila, you're ready to go. You'll have increased energy, the ability to keep doing the things that you love. So get your health back and feel good that you're doing something for yourself. What goes into your body, how you treat your body, that is something you and only you can control. So take care of yourself. Be proactive. And when you give your body the best possible fuel, you have more energy, you're stronger, and you can think more quickly. The number to call is 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago. First-timers get free shipping and 35% off their first preferred order of fruits and veggies. And also, you'll get a fiber and spice carton that you'll love. Or you can go online to balanceofnature.com and be sure to use discount code Chicago.
You cannot live forever, but your legacy can. For over 185 years, families have trusted Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago to set their legacies in stone. With 47 locations throughout Cook and Lake counties, a prepaid cemetery plan locks in today's prices and safeguards against rising inflation. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
Paid actor portrayal.
Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. In 10 minutes, I was covered. And boom, family protected.
Ethos fast and easy online term life insurance up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
When you're in the market to buy or sell a home, commercial property, or even vacant land, let attorney Susan J. Kim step in. She's reliable, responsive, personable, and extremely thorough when helping you deal with an otherwise stressful transaction. Attorney Kim leads with her values and is committed to providing legal services with excellence. To contact Attorney Kim, visit sjkimlaw.com. That's sjkimlaw.com. Whether it's drafting agreements, negotiating contract terms, or closing on a property, Attorney Susan J. Kim can do it all. Over 10 years of experience and her wealth of knowledge tackling complicated legal negotiations and breaking them down into a smooth, easy-to-understand process is what she does best. So let Attorney Susan J. Kim step in. To schedule your legal consultation today, visit sjkimlaw.com. That's sjkimlaw.com or call 847-906-3166. Susan J. Kim Attorney at Law is a state of Illinois licensed real estate attorney.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk to Dr. Bill Howder. He is a Illinois state rep from Central Illinois. Doctor, he's a medical doctor. He must have tripled the median IQ in the House when he came to town. We're going to talk to him about just how much we are spending at the state level on migrants, particularly when it comes to Medicaid health care coverage. That's at 6:36.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
33 degrees in Chicago and heavy snow showers are falling across the area. 6:30 on AM 560, The Answer. And roads are a mess. And right now we are seeing lots of flight delays, almost 500 delays in total at O'Hare and another 700 or so at Midway. And those numbers are expected to climb throughout the day. Snowfall totals right now coming into us here in the Chicago area. We'll start out in Rockford, where they are getting about an inch an hour, 2.9 inches of snow on the ground there. In Romeoville, southwest suburbs, 3.1 inches on the ground. Midway, 1.5 inches on the ground as we speak. Passengers who are on board the Alaska Airlines jet that lost a door mid-flight are now suing Boeing. Plane's left side door flew off last Friday. A class action suit says the incident caused economic, physical, and emotional pain. Israel telling an international court that the war in Gaza is not intended to destroy the Palestinian people. An Israeli lawyer made the arguments today in the so-called International Court of Justice, defending itself against accusations. Donald Trump not happy about the civil fraud case brought against him in New York.
She's a political hack, the Attorney General. The judge is obviously extremely friendly with the group, and we'll see what happens. I think maybe he may surprise people.
The former president spoke to reporters after his defense team made its closing argument Thursday. In response, New York Attorney General Letitia James says the fraud case against the former president is about more than personal feelings.
This case has never been about politics or personal vendetta or about name calling. This case is about the facts and the law.
People living in the central U.S. are being told to get ready for extreme cold. Forecasters are warning that while we're dealing with a blast of snow, subarctic air will move into the area over the next 5 days. The investigation of former Michigan State football coach Mel Tucker has come to an end. Tucker was fired in September, disciplined for sexually harassing a woman. Tucker appealed the school's ruling, claiming he was falsely accused. On Thursday, outside attorneys hired by the school to review Tucker's claims denied his appeal and upheld that decision. Governor J.B. Pritzker says Illinois will work on the state's gun ban registry in the weeks ahead as the law continues to face strong legal challenges. Pritzker said low registration compliance aside, it is still illegal to buy or sell more than 170 sport rifles or attachments.
High-capacity magazines are unavailable. Assault weapons are unavailable to be purchased in the state of Illinois as a result of the legislation that we passed. And we'll work through the registration challenges over the next month or two.
This afternoon, Southern District of Illinois Federal Judge Stephen McGlynn will hold a scheduling conference on the merits of a Fifth Amendment challenge against that law. A convicted felon is accused of seriously attacking a 61-year-old woman on a CTA Red Line train. Mijuan Johnson is charged with attempted murder and other charges. A man rescued Thursday afternoon at the Frankfort Granary after he fell 20 feet working on a cell phone tower on top of that historic building. Frankfort Deputy Fire Chief Paul Kinsella.
He was on top of the roof. had about a 15-foot fall with a severe arm injury.
The man fell around 2:30 p.m. while he was working on top of the building that has been turned into a cell phone tower. Chicago sports. Blackhawks gave up 2 goals in the final 4 minutes of regulation in a 2-1 loss to Winnipeg yesterday. Bulls take on Steph Curry and Golden State tonight. And the Bears are losing one of their home games in the 2024 season. NFL announcing yesterday that Chicago will host an international regular season game in London in 2024. 6:35 and a check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
If you listen to the mainstream media and the Democrats, you'd think it was a sin to be black and conservative. Well, John Anthony blows up that perception every week on Black and Right. Join John tomorrow afternoon at 4 when he pushes back against the left and its regressive, progressive agenda that tries to dictate how people should think or feel about politics. Listen to Black and Right tomorrow afternoon at 4, right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Why does this room look amazing? What'd you change?
Oh, I just got these custom shades from Blinds.com. It's all online, so it's really easy. Great price, too.
Ugh, I remember shopping for blinds. I waited around all day just to get a quote.
Hi, sorry I'm late. I know you said just the bedroom, but what do you feel about the
I feel
bathroom?
like I had to say yes just to get rid of her.
All right, just go ahead and sign here and we'll get everything
It
taken
took
care of.
forever, and the worst part, hidden fees. How about you?
I chatted with my Blinds.com design consultant on my time, got free samples, and it was all super high quality at a great price. Plus, they make it easy to DIY or add installation like I did.
Blinds.com sounds way better.
Way better. And everything comes with their 100% satisfaction guarantee. Plus, check this out. I can control them from my phone.
Whoa, magic.
There's a better way. Shop Blinds.com for up to 45% off. Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
The Fed's new FedNow system is all about surveillance and control. Secure your assets today with something Washington cannot manipulate. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon, and I recommend diversifying your retirement into a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get a free info kit by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. Do this right now. Text SHELTER to the number 989898 and get a free info kit from Birch Gold. There's no obligation or purchase required.
Message and data rates may apply.
Are you ready for an adventure of a lifetime? Journey with me, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, on the Patriots Alaska cruise this summer. It's an incredible opportunity to engage with me and other like-minded patriots on an epic 7-day cruise over 4th of July weekend. Witness the untouched wilderness of Alaska while discussing America's future. What could be better? Join me from June 29th to July 6th. Call 855-565-5519 or reserve online. PatriotsAlaskaCruise.com.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
6:37. Update on the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center is a service of ExpressPros.com. Let Express Employment Professionals help you hire for contract or full-time jobs. Go to ExpressPros.com to find the location near you. That's ExpressPros.com. I-80. Stop and go traffic in very slow conditions east and westbound as you're traveling your I-355 this morning. The Veterans itself just cleared an accident southbound before 63rd, but now there's a new accident. 2 right lanes blocked southbound right before Butterfield Road. The Reagan I-88 has an exit ramp and off-ramp to Route 31 shut down right now with a bad accident. As you're traveling on the Tri-State, Jackknife Semi, 3 left lanes blocked southbound on 294 between Gulf and Dempster. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. The latest from our QC Kinetics Weather Center. Snow becoming heavy at times, 3 to 6 inches throughout the day, along with heavy winds and a high of 35. Windy, more snow overnight, another 3 to 6 inches. Travel will be dangerous and a low of 23. Right now, snow at all reporting stations, 33 at O'Hare, 32 at Aurora, 33 in Kankakee. In Lansing, heavy snow. 33 along Chicago's lakefront. And your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Governor Jelly Belly issued a end-of-year message at the end of 2023, celebrating all of his accomplishments. Things are going great in the worst governed state in American history, he tells us. Take a listen.
Hello, Illinois. This is Governor
Hi.
J.B. Pritzker. Here we are at the end of another year.
Aw.
Despite all the challenges facing the nation and the world these days, thanks to your help, we've gotten big things done right here in the best state in America.
Go, Illinois.
We defeated the gun lobby and banned assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. While right-wingers in other states are banning books, we stopped them cold here in Illinois by banning book bans. Overcoming Republican opposition, we raised the minimum wage, expanded mental health care, made child care more affordable and available, and lowered the cost of getting a higher education degree. And while MAGA Republican extremists try to take away abortion rights, I founded Think Big America to fight back and make sure that they can't end a woman's right to make decisions about her own.
Exactly. Nothing is more pro-kid than killing him in the womb. That's what I always say. So that's a big accomplishments, particularly focus in on the health care, child health care, and so on and so forth. Okay. So now there's this report out, Race for Results, by the Annie Casey Foundation. By the way, this is another example of Robert Conquest's second law of politics. Something is not expressly conservative. Over time, it will become left. And the Annie Casey Foundation was started by James Casey, who was the founder of UPS, like in the late 40s. Okay. And now it's just another foundation that is essentially philanthropic washing for the left. Anyway, so Race for Results. And the top line is, Illinois is failing kids of color. So you heard Pritzker's message, and now from the left comes this report, Race for Results, Illinois failing kids of color. And so they brought on one of their flacks, Caitlin Jones, who's this mindless functionary for the YWCA of Chicago. YWCA of Chicago? Women's Christian Association, right? Young Women's Christian Association, YWCA. Their slogan, as you see on her backdrop when she does this interview with WGN, eliminating racism, empowering women. What?
Oh, my God.
So, right, it's all identitarian obsessed. So she's brought on to translate the results of the Annie Casey Foundation study. And it's just, again, the Rahm-esque gobbledygook. It's just on child welfare and healthcare policy and the sort. Smart policies for all kids is great, but we need targeted policy.
Well, the reality is we need to focus on everything because it's more than, just reading levels. It's more than poverty. It's also, how neighborhoods are doing, how they're faring, what kind of healthcare resources are available to parents, how their economic security is. I think the real thing this report underscores is the need to design and evaluate policies with special attention to the needs of these groups. Universal policies are great, but we actually need targeted policies to address the disparities that we're seeing across racial and ethnic groups in Illinois and the country more broadly.
Yeah, and she's focused on data points we talk about a lot, like the fact that, she says 1 in 3 kids of color in the state, only 1 in 3 read at grade level. It's lower than that. That's 1 in 3 all in. 1 in 3 of 1.85 million kids, matriculating through high school, but in 4th grade, read at grade level. 1 in 3, all in. 1 in 4 do math at grade level. And she continued, but, she's directionally correct. So that's not good. The impact of pandemic policy, that hasn't been good.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of these scores. So that's why I think, for example, like the reading indicator that I pointed to is so interesting to think about, because that is an indicator for how children are going to do as adults in terms of whether they'll graduate from high school, whether they'll enroll in college, what kind of financial security they'll have. And so we see these things from a very early age having a tremendous impact on people's lives and their economic security through adulthood, which is why it's really important that we start to and pay more attention to these kind of very early childhood issues that this report is highlighting.
Thank you so much. It's great the Annie B. Casey Foundation did this report. So now that we know reading is important to kids, thank God, now we know teaching kids to read is important. Thank you, Caitlin Jones. So we're not doing a good job. The pandemic didn't help any. In fact, obviously it hurt significantly.
Yes.
But hey, don't forget, we live in Candide.
Yeah, so in looking at, Illinois has already done a pretty good job. We had an earned income tax credit, which is great, and we expanded it.
Everything's fine.
We've got hot tubs on the river. Come on, please.
Exactly. Yeah. Go take a ride on the Sea Dog. Go shop on the Mag Mile. Don't worry about it. Hey, what do you think the Bears should do for offensive coordinator? This is bad. It was made worse. Illinois is doing great. Okay, sure. Try and reconcile that. To help us follow that logic, if that is possible, we're pleased to be joined by Dr. Bill Hauter, who's a Republican member of the Illinois State House from 87th District. That's Central Illinois. Dr. Hauter, Representative Hauter, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Good morning, Dan and Amy.
Morning. You heard...
Sorry for the morning voice.
Oh, no, it's all right. We'll assess your bedside manner and let you know.
Yes. Well, I'm on my way to work this morning, so if you hear anything, that's
very, very good.
going to work.
So you heard Pritzker's message, all the accomplishments. You heard the effort to provide a real assessment of what's happening at the developmental level for kids in this state, including with respect to health care. Before we get into specifically the migrant issue, and I know you haven't been in the General Assembly for a long time, which is why you probably still maintain some sanity. Just give us a Republican response, if you will, to what you heard.
Well, the crazy thing is, Dan, is that I feel like I come from a business of, medicine and being a physician. I'm an anesthesiologist in the Peoria area and also an emergency physician. So my whole life has been one of, outcomes, evidence, measurable variables. And I'm in this business now where it's like I'm in a fantasy world. And we actually sit on the floor of the House and listen to things like Illinois on top and going higher. And the other,
like brainwashing, huh?
Yeah. It's just like what world are we living in? This is a sentence I heard. Other states look to Illinois to see if they can replicate our success. And
interesting? That's the same thing the Bears have on their bulletin board in the locker room.
Right. No, it's just like so. It's all based on feelings and narrative and power because we're so such a small super minority. We're irrelevant to them, and with that irrelevancy, they don't feel accountable to anything. They're not accountable to the media. They're not accountable to the voters. So I can just go on and on about how it's hard to battle when you're battling not reality, and when you're battling false narratives and untruth without evidence. So when you bring up evidence, that's just dismissed. And so, we can talk about, the evidence and the reality of what's happening with this migrant situation, especially in regard to healthcare.
Well,
And
let's do that, because I mean, again, I think people don't appreciate the largest budget item in the state budget is not K through 12 education, it's Medicaid, and that's only expanded over the last several governors, where now we're running at about 1 in 3 Illinois residents, like legal residents, are Medicaid eligible, and now you've got the influx of people from other countries that are being covered. Their health care is being covered by Medicaid as well, meaning taxpayers. And this is a huge number, and it's going to start growing perhaps exponentially based on the influx that is occurring.
Exactly. So, when you look at this, it's a real abdication of our fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of Illinois. When we say Illinoisans are not only first, but they're last, and they're behind non-citizens in the Medicaid system. So when we have the Medicaid system for, working poor adults in Illinois, and that system is in a managed care organization, an MCO. And with that comes, denials of care, pre-authorizations, co-pays. Then we set up from age 42 to seniors a system that's Medicaid-like for immigrants. That is a fee-for-service, no managed care. It's absolutely golden Cadillac insurance, and it's taking away over $1 billion from the Illinoisans that are vulnerable and need the health insurance. It's just, to me, it's almost evil.
Well, then what should we be doing? What do you suggest?
I think we just continue. We have to persevere, and that's been a big thing with me in my first year is saying, when you see how far down we are and how what a deep minority we are and how irrelevant we are, what do? Well, they want us to give up, right, Amy? They want us to give up and to say, Illinois, it's not worth fighting for. I know I've thought about leaving, but in the end, I think our job is to continue to fight and to continue to bring the reality of the situation. And, I think the only thing we can do is I take from the Bible, I take, 2 Corinthians 4, there's verses in there that says we're crushed. I mean, we are hard pressed on all sides, but we are not crushed. We have to stay in Illinois. We have to stay and fight because this is our home. And when we lose our, people that become so frustrated by the situation, they don't care, because who's leaving Illinois? It's the businesses, it's the makers, it's the people that are productive. And who are they bringing in is a huge, a population of illegal immigrants, and also whatever you want to call them. If you say illegal immigrants on the House floor, you may be strung up from the rafters.
Yeah, I wouldn't encourage you to make I wouldn't encourage you to make a biblical reference either, because I believe Pritzker has banned that book in Illinois. I'm not sure.
No, we don't have any book banning. No.
Yeah, right. So here's, but I mean, here's one thing, and we talked about this a bit yesterday. Modeling after the daily COVID briefings. Now, of course, Pritzker is not going to do these briefings with respect to migrants and the cost being imposed and exactly what you're describing. That hasn't gotten enough coverage. The idea that migrants are getting Cadillac healthcare coverage as compared to Illinois residents who are getting that managed care regime. That's a really important point. But what about Freedom Caucus in the House has suggested this too, Brad Holbrook and Chris Miller and company, that you would do daily migrant briefings, that just the number of people in, you can track these bus reports and train reports of migrants being dropped off and where they're being dropped off by these regional emergency response agencies. We certainly have them in Cook County. Sure. And here's who's being dropped off, or how many being dropped off, where they're going. Here's what the state costs are in terms of what you were describing with respect to the fee-for-service Medicaid coverage, and associated costs that are being borne by taxpayers, and just put out daily briefings. I mean, you would build a community around that information. What about that?
I mean, I think that's a great idea. That kind of transparency is definitely needed. And you mentioned another thing is that the continued rule by executive order, and we're under, this is
emergency declarations. Yeah.
Yes, emergency declarations. And one of the reasons why I ran for office, Dan, was because of COVID. And as a physician, I saw, the lockdowns, the mandates, and the coerced consent for vaccinations. And as a physician, I saw that there was not one medical person in the House or the Senate. There's not one medical doctor. I'm the only medical doctor in the legislature of Illinois for over 30 years. So to me, we had a huge public health emergency, and no one was speaking for the people. It was ruled by one man, and he continued that for way too long. We saw that when every other state had dropped their emergency declarations. He kept it on until the very last day of the last month that it could be kept on, and then he switched to emergency declarations for a migrant crisis, so that he can move money around at will. And there's very little transparency, and we struggle to find out where billions of dollars are being spent of Illinoisans' money. This healthcare crisis, or this healthcare program, HBIA, healthcare benefits for immigrant seniors and adults, is the A. That program last fiscal year cost over $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
You know how much they thought it was going to cost?
How much?
$200 million.
Only off by a factor of 5. That's pretty good for them.
Yeah, pretty good. And so what would you say when you have expanded this? It would be in your budget. What would you say it would be? Would probably, unless we do something drastic, it's going to be about that same amount. No, they said it's going to be $550 million. This is, again, an example of the unreality of the situation.
Right.
So
it'll be
budget.
It'll be $2.5 billion. It'll be $3 billion. It'll be $5 billion this time. But what's the difference to them, right?
Yep. But they said in the budget it's only going to be $500 because we're going to institute cost savings. What are those cost savings? Well, we're going to stop new enrollees, which they have done that. But they're going to institute managed care for these people. It hasn't happened. So they continue to get fee-for-service. They can go to any doctor's office, don't have to get pre-authorizations for any kind of treatment, don't have denial of care like other Illinoisans do. And then they said, we're going to institute co-pays, just like everybody else. But did that happen? No. That was immediately protested, and the political fallout from that, from the Hispanic caucus and others, was how dare you make these poor people have a copay for any kind of treatment. So that's not been instituted. So right now, that $550 million that they budgeted, we're only at over $800 million that we can see. But again, they're not transparent with us or to the Illinoisans about what this is costing. But we think right now it's over $800 million, and it'll probably be just as close as it was last year. But to balance the budget, they just say whatever they want to say.
Dr. Bill Hauter, Republican member of the Illinois State House, 87th District, that's Central Illinois, the Peoria area, as he was saying. Dr. Hauter, thanks so much for joining us and explaining what's going on down there. Please keep us informed and distribute whatever information you are able to glean from how money is being spent down there, particularly on the healthcare issue with people who are in this country illegally, largely. Dr. Hauter, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, and have a good day. Stay safe.
Yeah, thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
It's a new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. Hi, Amy Jacobson here. And if one of your New Year's resolutions was to do more to help others, then we want to let you know that you still have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of children in Latin America and the Caribbean through Food for the Poor. Your donation of just $80 provides food for an entire year for 2 children. That's life-changing. Just because the Christmas season is over, that doesn't mean that the need has gone away. Food for the Poor is a faith-based organization that works with partners on the ground to make sure these children are fed. You know, we talk a lot about the root causes of our immigration crisis, and one of those causes is the situation in many of these countries. This is your chance to help take care of others. To make a donation of any amount, just visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That's 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. Thanks again for your generosity.
WIND, Chicago.
The U.S. and Britain will pay a heavy price. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Iran-backed Houthi militants are warning of avenging the attack on them in Yemen.
Now, the U.S. and U.K. coalition forces did strike more than 60 targets at 16 Houthi locations. Radar systems included, defense systems as well, and missile storage and launch sites.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House, where President Biden put out a statement.
This was a direct response to at least 27 Houthi attacks on commercial shipping that have affected 50 nations, with crews from more than 20 countries having been taken hostage or threatened in acts of piracy.
Republican Congressman Michael Waltz tells Fox.
Better late than never. I'm thrilled to see actually some of the ships, one of them, the USS Florida, taking this action. The White House is finally letting them do so.
But some Democrats are critical, saying the president should have asked Congress for approval first, fearing a widening Middle East conflict as the price of oil surges up almost 4%. Israel's gone to the International Court of Justice defending itself from what it calls a false charge from South Africa that it's committing genocide in Gaza. Israel says it's a war against Hamas it did not want, then gave graphic details of Hamas's brutality in the October terror attack that started the war. Well, the judge who already ruled the Trump Organization committed fraud fine the company and ban it from doing business in New York. Attorney General Letitia James hopes so.
No matter how powerful you are, no matter how rich you are, that no one is above the law.
Former President Trump calls it unfair election interference, and he's a victim.
Everybody knows what I just said. This is a sham, and it's a shame.
President Biden's wiping out more student loan debt in a targeted program after the Supreme Court struck down his bigger plan.
The implementation of a provision of the SAVE plan will allow borrowers who took out less than $12,000 in student loans and have been in repayment at least 10 years to have all remaining student debt canceled immediately.
That's Jared Halpert. America's listening to Fox News.
7:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott. Heavy snow, windy conditions bottling up the roads and the airports. National Weather Service says heavy snow will fall between now and the end of day Saturday. 8 to 12 inches of snow across the western suburbs and northern Illinois. Lower amounts right along the lakefront and in northwest Indiana. Number of schools in the region have canceled classes or shifted to e-learning. In fact, finding a school or college open would be a struggle, so check your district's website or look for reminds on your phone. Local and state officials on Chicago's southwest side are calling for the city's 8th police district to be split up. They believe doing so would better serve the 250,000 residents of that area. Alderman Ray Lopez.
The southwest side isn't just understaffed, it's underpoliced. We don't have the resources to keep over 250,000 people safe on this side of town.
Officials say the 8th district is the biggest and busiest in the city and ranks number 1 for all crimes committed. In a controversial ruling, federal judge is temporarily siding with a hearing-impaired Montini Catholic High School wrestler who transferred schools. The judge ruling yesterday against the IHSA, allowing Harrison Condor to compete. His family says Downers Grove North was too large to accommodate better conditions for his disability. The IHSA showed evidence Condor family had never requested accommodations from Downers Grove North. There will be a status hearing in 2 weeks. Chicago sports. Blackhawks lost to Winnipeg 2-1. Bulls take on Steph Curry and the Warriors at the UC tonight. White Sox news, team avoiding arbitration with 7 players yesterday, including starting pitcher Dylan Cease. And in Big Ten hoops, number 10 Illinois knocks down Michigan State 71-68. The news service of Salem Surround a local digital marketing agency. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, tunein.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
Hi, this is Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois, with my current want list for upcoming auctions. Guns and military items are always at the top of my list, but I have buyers for vintage automobiles and motorcycles, old gas pumps and automotive signs. Do you have pinball machines and coin-operated games like slot machines, jukeboxes? How about Coke machines and soda machines? Also, neon signs, antique phonographs and music boxes, old toys, especially science fiction and Star Wars. Cowboy and Native American collections like barbershop, ice cream parlor, and saloon items. We'll take one item or an entire collection. We sell it all. Call me before you sell your items outright because you could be leaving a fortune on the table. And you won't know until you call me at 815-923-7000 or send me an email at DonnellyAuctions.com. My job is to get you top dollar for your collections, so call me at 815-923-7000. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction.
Looking for top-notch personal protection? The Smith & Wesson Equalizer is here to level the playing field. Easy to rack slide, easy to control ergonomic grip. It's designed for you. With a 10, 13, and 15-round magazine included, size up for better control or size down for easier concealment. Don't miss out on the opportunity to upgrade your safety. Visit your local dealer now. To learn more about the Equalizer, visit smith-wesson.com. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans. All capacity sizes may not be available in your jurisdiction. Be sure to check your local laws and regulations.
Paid actor portrayal.
Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. In 10 minutes, I was covered. And boom, family protected.
Ethos fast and easy online term life insurance up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
Well, I've been taking it for some time. We saw the ad and we thought we would give it a try. And I noticed after the first month, we just felt better. I told my doctor too, and she said, this sounds like a really good product for you to be taking. We plan to take it for life.
I ran this by my doctor. I always run it by her, everything I take, and I told her I've been taking this for a while. Is this okay to take? She goes, oh, this is wonderful for you to take. Keep taking it. She goes, I approve this. This is very good. So she said, yes. She said, this is one thing you can take that's very good. I'm not going to stop taking Balance of Nature.
Step into the new year with a new you. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:07. Time to call Permaseal, 800-421-SEAL. Time to check those snowfall numbers. 2.3 inches on the ground right now in Kankakee. 3.1 inches in Carroll Stream. 6 inches on the ground in Sugar Grove. That's why the roads are all messed up this morning. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time will start on the Edens. Outbound, jammed up, spin outs, Montrose to Devon. It's 40 minutes out to Lake Cook Road. The Kennedy at 43 and climbing into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike right now sits at 70 minutes, an hour 10, 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, it's an hour 6 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. I-57 in the Bishop Ford jamming into the Ryan Merge. 394 jammed up southbound between 8094 and Glenwood Dyer Road. Tri-State an accident, left lane blocked northbound between Halstead and I-80. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Let's get the latest in the QC Kinetics Weather Center with Steve Williams.
A winter storm warning in effect through Saturday. Snow heavy at times today, 3 to 6 inches, high 35. Another 3 to 6 tonight, low 23, and then a coating to an inch tomorrow. Windy and the high tomorrow at 24. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
33 at O'Hare. Next news 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Don't expect the Bidenomics messaging to make a return anytime soon after yesterday's numbers. We'll see CPI is today. But here was The Godfather, Rick Santelli. You know The Godfather. His cri de coeur launched the Tea Party movement a generation ago.
Yes, why do I have to pay for my neighbor's remodeled bathroom?
He's still at it and still with the same vim and vigor, which is why we love Rick. Here's Rick going over the numbers and what they mean. Wait for the end of it, because this explains why 3/4 of the country is saying I'm in a worse position economically than I was pre-Biden.
313.216. That probably doesn't mean anything to you. It means something to me. That's the highest it's ever been. It's ever been. Now remember, Bureau of Labor Statistics brings out this number. Go to their website. When did COVID start? March of 2020? Okay, this is a decent number. That means Nov was the most updated we had prior to about 2 minutes ago. If you go to their website and you look at their CPI inflation calculator and you put in Feb of 2020, what you'll find is it takes $1.19 of Nov $23 to buy what bought $1 pre-COVID. Do it if you don't believe me.
Believe him. That's it. $1.19 of November 2023 dollars to buy what cost $1 in February of 2020. 19% across the board. And so even with the manipulated numbers where they extract food and energy costs because of volatility, sort of give you a rosy picture, the real world implications are people are losing ground even with some wage increases over those years, not keeping up with the cost of the basics. That's why. For more on this in the context of previewing Monday's Iowa caucus, fresh off of his conquest of CNN on Wednesday night, Bret Baier is the host of Fox News Special Report, weekdays 5 p.m. Chicago time, best-selling author of To Rescue the Constitution, George Washington and the Fragile American Experiment, and also The History Club, Duel Across Time, a graphic novel. Bret Baier branching out. He's stretching the bounds of his artistic creativity. A graphic novel? What is next, Bret Baier? Blow art?
Maybe some clay figures.
Yes.
I don't know. The graphic novel is really fun, and kids 8 to 14. It's about history. It's about this adventure, and it actually really has done well. And parents like getting history in the minds of young people, so that's why I did it.
Good for you.
I'm looking forward to Bret Baier's big book of political prose. I want to see where you take this creativity. You're not just a button-down newsman. I like it.
It's I was trying to be a button-down newsman this week, and it's really interesting in that Iowa is fascinating. I think it's going to be a lot different than people think as far as what actually happens. Minus 14 is real. That's a real for a Monday show up for people. The organization of getting people out is going to be really, really interesting.
And so who do you think that dastardly cold weather benefits? Who does that extend the gap between Trump and the rest, or does it close it?
I think DeSantis, has a really good organization, but Trump has the momentum as far as people, numbers. Those polls, we've never seen polls like that heading into the caucuses. So I think that there's got to be if it's going to shift, it would have to be a major shift. I think the real battle is between DeSantis and Haley, and if Haley somehow comes in second, it is really not a good thing for the DeSantis campaign.
Well, do you think then he'd consider dropping out, or he'd wait till after New Hampshire or South Carolina?
I talked to him before the town hall that we did this week, and the governor said, listen, let's schedule this thing in New Hampshire, and then let's do one in South Carolina. And I don't know if that was all bluster or not, but I don't think that the message would be that strong if you've bet all your chips on Des Moines and Iowa counties, and you come out third.
But if the polls are correct, Trump's on track to smash the Republican record for the largest victory margin in the history of the Iowa caucuses. And I think people are playing more into this weather. I mean, it's going to be cold, but Iowans are hardy, and it's not as if we haven't experienced that before.
That's true. And, his supporters, I will say, having met a lot of them on the trail over the past few days, are people who would walk over glass to go caucus. I mean, they kind of feel aggrieved and that the world is out to get the former president, and so they feel like it's their duty to make sure that Iowa stands up. So that's what I hear from them. And if I had to guess, I think that he's going to have a big win. Whether it's as big as those polls show, we'll see.
Yeah, and again, I mean the aggrieved is a good word in terms of the Trump voters feeling aggrieved sort of by transference. And right in the run up to the caucus, you've got more reason to be aggrieved. The circus around the closing arguments in the civil trial in New York, the information coming out about Fani Willis in Fulton County. I mean, that just gets people's dander up even more so.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it's one thing after another. I mean, it's not just one, and every day is another courtroom drama with the president actually going to all the courtrooms, because I think he sees a political advantage to talk to reporters outside of those. Listen, you guys know the scope of these things. There's a couple of them that are more serious than others, but especially the Manhattan civil fraud and some of the cases up in New York, I think there's a sense that it's a political element to it.
But don't you wonder what the Biden camp is thinking? I mean, you have President Trump. He did your town hall with Martha McCallum, then flew back to New York, and then was in court yesterday. I mean, he's got stamina and vigor, and Joe Biden's just barely hanging on.
Yeah, the Democrats I talked to in Iowa, they're concerned. They're really concerned. And I think you're going to start to see even more Democrats piping up. But I don't know where the shoe drops, like what happens, what's the next play. I don't see how it changes ahead of the convention.
So you and Martha were able to extract from Trump that he has selected his VP running mate in his own mind, assuming he's the nominee. Not surprisingly, he wouldn't tell you who that is. And then yesterday, Rand Paul said, I got a big announcement coming this morning. I mean, is it just an endorsement of Trump, or what do we expect?
Rand Paul. I guarantee you it's I don't think that Rand Paul is the VP.
Okay.
I think that it was interesting that he said he had made up his mind, that he has a person. I mean, I think that's part of the intrigue. It's obviously not a done deal here, and he's got to get the nomination. But should he? That's an interesting thing. I don't think in the big picture VPs make that big of a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it would this time. I think, Rand Paul, if he endorsed DeSantis, that would be a crazy thing. But if I had to guess, he's going to endorse Trump.
Yeah. Now, you were with President Trump the other night. Have you noticed, was his demeanor different? Has he matured over the past 4 years? Is there anything that
big time? The demeanor
different?
was definitely different. I can't talk about the maturity level or what is going to come tomorrow. We're one true social post from a change in demeanor. But I think that what we saw was not what we were expecting to see. We were expecting to see the full pushback, and we were getting ready and kind of ready to go down all kinds of rabbit holes and push back all this time. And he came with more of a general election pitch and demeanor, and we push back on a number of things about political violence, about debt, about, emoluments clause, all kinds of different things. But his overall pitch, and I don't know whether it was that his mother-in-law had passed, it did seem to affect him actually backstage a little bit. Whether that changes his tone, but he was in, it seemed to me, general election mindset.
Mm-hmm. The border issue. I mean, Trump during your town hall said, look, we've got no choices. There has to be a mass deportation effort initiated. DeSantis, in his debate with Nikki Haley, said something akin to that. Where do you think the Republicans, on the Hill are, particularly in the Senate, on real system change when it comes to immigration if they were able to secure the presidency and the Congress?
I think that there's a blueprint. There is a model that they could get to something that everybody agrees on. It has to look a little bit like H.R. 2, the House bill that passed. It has to have that kind of thing. Right now, they're just around the edges trying to get this supplemental deal done, and I'm not sure that that's going to come around. I mean, there's some real pushback already to House Speaker Johnson, and he could be in jeopardy, just like the previous House Speaker McCarthy, because these conservatives are just not liking how he's operating so far on the budget. So I think there is a path forward, but you would need all three branches.
And with respect to, just going back to Biden for a second, Jill Biden was out talking about Hunter and the reelection campaign and so forth. Hunter pleading not guilty yesterday, trial being set for June. I mean, just setting aside sort of the legal strategy for a second, the political pressure from the White House on Hunter has to be, you have to deal this out and be done. We can't have you on trial weeks before the convention in the late summer of this year.
Yeah, and I think that the pitch that that Hunter Biden is he's suffering, and the Joe Biden soundbite. I mean, it's designed to do what it does, but it is really a negative politically for that trial to happen right before the election in the summer, right before the convention. Just like the trial that will likely come in D.C. for the January 6th against Trump, that could be September. You're talking about two sides of the coin here, two sides of the aisle that will have big things that will be covered in a legal sense right before a general election. And so that's why there's 60% of people that say don't choose either one of them.
He is Bret Baier, host of Fox News Special Report, weekdays, 5 p.m. Chicago time, best-selling author of To Rescue the Constitution, George Washington and the Fragile American Experiment, and his new graphic novel, The History Club, Duel Across Time. Bret, thank you as always.
We'll see you guys.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
My son was saying, Mom, why are you paying so much for this? The supplement store has the exact same thing. And I said, no, they don't. Because he was telling me that they have similar products as Balance of Nature. But then when he came over to my house and he looked at the label of the Balance of Nature about all the, ingredients and everything, he realized, oh, yeah, this is a superior product.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Have you saved enough? What are you going to do with Social Security? What will your taxes look like in retirement? Scott Tucker believes retirement planning should be easy, and you should be able to get all the information you need in one place. That's why Scott created the Retirement Decoded Toolkit, a comprehensive resource for your retirement. In it, you'll find a copy of his latest book, Escape Illinois: Should I Stay or Should I Go? This book will provide insight on taxes, Social Security, income, and more. To get your free Retirement Decoded Toolkit, text KIT, K-I-T, to 847-474-3888, or go to retirementdecoded.com. Now, in addition to the book, you'll also receive resources on retirement's most common concerns. Get your Retirement Decoded Toolkit from Scott Tucker right now by texting KIT to 847-474-3888, or go to retirementdecoded.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC. A registered investment advisor, this is a paid placement.
45 years ago, I started Permaseal Basement Systems working out of my apartment and F-150 pickup truck. Today, we've helped over 500,000 people in Greater Chicagoland make their homes healthy and more valuable. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer. I'd like to thank all of you who have trusted Permaseal and reassure you that your trust is well placed. You can trust Permaseal to use only our own professional employees that will respect you and your home. Trust that we will deliver the best value, using fair book pricing so you don't have to negotiate to get the best deal. And trust Permaseal to always stand behind our work and our word. This January, we're celebrating with an anniversary sale offering 10% off all our services or up to 24-month interest-free financing, waterproofing, crawl space encapsulation, structural repairs, even our new attic insulation service. Be sure to call by January 31st to get great savings and great service. 800-421-7325, 800-421-SEAL, or visit permaseal.net.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. Claudine Gay has now stepped down as Harvard's president, though she still will collect the same hefty $900,000 salary. Attempting to salvage Gay's reputation, her supporters have accused her critics of hypocrisy. They argue Claudine Gay's detractors attributed her promotion to her race and gender, and now are using her ouster to undermine DEI efforts. The claim is just projection. It's Gay's supporters who are guilty of race-conscious behavior. When Gay was named president of Harvard, it was her fans who emphasized her sex and color. She was forced out for reasons having nothing to do with either. Gay's fans charged that her critics want a world where she can't win because of her immutable characteristics. Actually, they want one where she can't lose because of them. Either would be noxious, discounting individual choices and abilities in favor of stereotypes and group rights. That's not the American way.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We've got to address this. These statements made by Gary Grasso, who is the mayor of Burr Ridge. You know, Gary was a Republican member of the DuPage County Board. He's been a Republican candidate for Congress and for DuPage County Board president. And I've always gotten along okay with Gary, but I can't abide statements like this.
Is this in regards to immigration? What he recently
Yes.
said? Yeah.
Yeah.
Saw that.
And you know, and Burr Ridge doesn't have a train station, so they're not being dropped off at a train stop in Burr Ridge. But
Nope, they're not.
they did have a hotel that had migrants last year. Grasso said he's in touch with nearly 300 mayors around Chicagoland, the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. I haven't gotten anything negative about it. This morning, I confirmed with all the villages around Chicago that even though the migrants were being dropped off at train stations, and we don't have one, I asked all the mayors present, has anyone had a problem with any of the migrants in the past few months? And it was zero problems. Nobody has had any problems.
So, yeah, okay.
I don't believe that. And point of fact, when you have stories about Colombian burglary rings in Lake County, and you have stories about some of the migrants being accused of and arrested for the commission of crimes, don't tell me that nobody is saying there are no problems. And to the extent there are no problems because you have sanctuary city, state proponents in these mayor's office saying, yeah, I don't have any problems. When they come here, we just ship them down to Chicago. That's not no problems. Not to mention, I mean, any foresight here in terms of the rolling delivery of people from around the world coming through the southern border and being bussed up here without much knowledge of their backgrounds? It's very Pollyannish. First of all, I don't believe it's true. Secondly, it's a very Pollyannish view of the situation, isn't it? One of the trustees in Burr Ridge said this: nobody anticipated a year ago the city of Chicago wouldn't want buses of migrants dropped off in the city. Oh, really? Nobody anticipated it. BLM Brandon's been calling it a burden for months. Eric Adams, prior to Chicago getting to burden point, has been banging his tin cup all over the place, asking for money from the state and from the feds. You didn't anticipate that what you saw unfurling in New York would visit itself to Chicagoland? Nobody anticipated this? An endless flow of people being dropped off and say, here. Nobody thought that at some point Chicago would tire of it and say, we're a sanctuary state, as they've said. Of course they said, hey, we need the suburbs to pick up some of the slack. You didn't anticipate that. Come on.
Coming up.
No, we're not done yet.
Oh, all right, well, okay.
Grasso first thanked BLM Brandon for trying to coordinate a response. Thanked him. How about having a conversation saying, this is what we wrought with terrible public policy at the city, county, and state level? No, we're thanking BLM Brandon for reaching out to the mayors and saying, why don't you take some? Calling on Pritzker, why don't you give me more taxpayer money? That deserves a thank you? That's called coordination? No, that's socializing the city's problems to the suburbs, which is what the city of Chicago has always done, as I've explained innumerable times. And then he says this: they want, have sympathy for the new arrivals. They want to be here because they want a better life. I truly believe that, and we're all product of similar people facing similar situations years ago. Again, that is the flip side of saying every migrant is a predator or is somebody to be afraid of and so forth. It's a mixed bag, as humanity always is when you're talking about the numbers we're talking about. Some people, yes, it is similar. They came through a port of entry. They were granted after filing an asylum application, they're allowed to stay in this country per federal policy. That's the fault of the federal policymakers. But the idea that they're magical people who are all just yearning to breathe free and have more economic opportunity is false, and we know it's false. We know it. If you've paid even passing attention, we know that is false. We know that people on the terrorist watch list are part of the Godaway population. We know that you have Mexican cartels pushing their drug pushers into this country. We have legitimate concerns about state sponsors of terror and state sponsors of communism, infiltration, pushing their people through the southern border. This is known. It is not in dispute. But yet we're all supposed to characterize we're all supposed to characterize everyone in this coming into this country the way they're coming in as the vision of the Emma Lazarus poem. It's nonsense. Knock it off. And the residents of Burr Ridge should tell Gary Grasso and the rest of that board exactly that. What the hell's wrong with you? Okay, now I'm done.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, not just Iowa Caucus Day on Monday, it's also Martin Luther King Day. We'll talk racial politics and King's legacy with our friend Bob Woodson, Woodson Center, 7:37.
But now let's head straight into that newsroom. We're having some power surges here. Have you noticed that, Mike?
National Weather Service and ComEd are both saying that one of the problems we will be facing over the next 24 to 48 hours is the heavy wet snow and heavy winds causing problems with power lines. In fact, ComEd is already staging some of their crews to be able to address those issues should they come up. At 7:33 here on AM 560, The Answer, President Biden this morning announces that federal student debt will be wiped clean for some who took out small loans. Those who got less than $12,000 in loans and have been paying them off for at least 10 years will see their remaining debt canceled immediately, according to the Biden administration. Passengers who were on the Alaska Airlines jet that lost a door mid-flight are now suing Boeing. Plane's left side door flew off Friday, causing the cabin to depressurize and forcing an emergency landing. Iowa caucus goers in for a blast of winter this weekend. Fox's Jill Nato is there.
Much of Iowa's been dealing with back-to-back snowstorms, and forecasters say this Monday, caucus day, it's going to get brutally cold. Is that going to keep some voters from getting out to the caucuses?
I don't like this bitter cold. It's very dangerous.
It would take a lot for us not to go. I think we'll go.
But National Weather Service meteorologist Alexis Jimenez in Des Moines warns that
looking at wind chill forecast, especially in the morning hours, we're looking at minus 30 degrees for wind chills and not improving too much through the day and the evening hours.
And the Weather Service says those kinds of temperatures can produce frostbite in a matter of minutes. Jill Nato, Fox News.
The U.S. and U.K. militaries launching retaliation attacks on Iranian-based Houthi rebels in Yemen, following more than a dozen different sites and attacks on shipping in the Red Sea. Florida Congressman Michael Waltz overnight on Fox.
Better late than never. I'm thrilled to see actually some of the ships, one of them, the USS Florida, taking this action. The White House is finally letting them do so.
The Houthis condemned the airstrikes and vow they'll continue to target ships. All 6 crew members on board a Navy helicopter that crashed in San Diego Bay Thursday have survived. The Seahawk helicopter went down near the Coronado Naval Base. Number of schools in the region have canceled classes or shifted to e-learning. In fact, finding a school or college open would be a struggle. Check your district's website or look for reminds on your phone. Local and state officials on Chicago's southwest side are calling for the city's 8th police district to be split up. Alderman Ray Lopez.
The southwest side isn't just understaffed, it's underpoliced. We don't have the resources to keep over 250,000 people safe on this side of town.
Officials say the 8th district is the biggest and busiest in the city and ranks number 1 for all crimes committed across the city of Chicago. A man rescued yesterday afternoon at the Frankfort Granary after falling 20 feet or more while working on a cell tower on that historic building. Frankfort Deputy Fire Chief Paul Kinsella.
The southwest side isn't.
Highly trained technical rescue crews, according to Kinsella, were called in when firefighters realized the man would not be able to make it down while he was working on a cell tower on top of that building. Blackhawks lost to Winnipeg 2-1. Bulls take on Steph Curry and the Warriors later on tonight. Big Ten hoops, number 10 Illinois, a hard-fought win over Michigan State, 71-68. The news a service of Crosscom Public Adjusters. If your home or business has an insurance claim, Crosscom will help you get what you need and have coming to you. They've helped thousands. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com. AM 560 news time is 7:37. A check on the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
The holidays have come and gone, and once again, you were generous. Don't worry, though, Pure Talk has your back. Instead of paying Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile $60, $70, $80 a line, Pure Talk has unlimited plans starting at just $20 a month. Get terrific coverage on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. This is how the average family saves almost $1,000 a year. It's time to switch to a wireless company that shares your values, a company that isn't afraid to invest in shows like mine, a company who is veteran-owned and serves veterans. So I switched, and it works. I have a phone with Pure Talk. I see no difference. Just dial pound 250 and say the keyword Dennis Prager, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team is waiting by to serve you. Dial pound 250 and say the keyword Dennis Prager to be connected now. Again, dial pound 250 and say Dennis Prager to start off the year saving on wireless with a company you can be proud of, Pure Talk.
I'm Shalom Klein. Join me each week for the Get Down to Business radio show. This show is packed with ideas that will inspire as you search for best practices to grow your business. Whether you are an experienced entrepreneur or just learning the ropes, Get Down to Business will tackle the issues affecting your everyday work life.
Get Down to Business is covered by Tom Mirabali, independent producer for Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois.
Listen each week to Get Down to Business with me, Shalom Klein. Heard Sunday afternoons at 6 right here on AM 560.
Hey, I'm Raquel.
And I'm Babette.
Here to invite you to listen to our show, Belly of the Beast,
where we tackle all the hot topics and issues that you are talking about today.
So join us each week for our
hard-hitting,
fun,
informative,
topical,
out there
radio show where we leave nothing on the table.
Belly of the Beast, heard every Saturday evening at 7, right here on AM 560, The Answer. And follow us on Facebook at Belly of the Beast IL.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
7:39, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We're hearing, by the way, at O'Hare, full ground stop has been implemented, and what that means is they can't keep up with keeping the runways clean from all of the snow. So they'll periodically put in place a full ground stop, try to sweep off the runways and get aircraft back going. We'll see if that's what's taking place, because there have been many cancellations, almost 500 at O'Hare this morning and around 100 at Midway. Meantime, on the roads, it's a mess. You know that if you're driving, take it slow. 45 O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. We're seeing the Eisenhower right now at an hour 5 from 390 into the old post office with not a lot of traffic. 83 minutes as you travel the Stevenson between 355 and DuSable Lakeshore Drive. You are jammed up central all the way to Kedzie. Dan Ryan, it's an hour and 15 minutes from 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Locals, express, doesn't matter. It's bad. 57 Bishop Ford also jamming and slow into the Ryan Merge. Tri-State, due to an earlier accident, you're stopping slow northbound between Dixie Highway and I-80. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Your AM 560 Weather Center forecast from the QC Kinetics Weather Center. 3 to 6 inches of snow. Wind gusts have topped 55 miles an hour and a high of 35 today. Snow and blow, heavy wind. Overnight again, 3 to 6 inches. Travel will be dangerous and a low of 23. Currently, 33 at O'Hare. Wind chill of 17. And your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. You think DIE is DEAD because Claudine Gay got deposed at Harvard? Hardly. Sharita Golden, Dr. Sharita Golden, she's a medical doctor. She's also the chief diversity officer at Johns Hopkins Medicine.
Gross. Just a waste of her time. Okay.
Medical doctor, chief diversity officer, Johns Hopkins Medicine, one of the reputedly best medical schools in the world, a la Harvard, reputedly being one of the best universities in the world. Neither are true anymore because, in part of this, she sent out a missive yesterday announcing their MLK Day celebrations. Their commemoration event is today. It will be held at the Chevy Chase Auditorium on the East Baltimore campus of Johns Hopkins. Noted engineer and physician Mae Jemison will be the keynote speaker. Great. Mae Jemison, the first black woman to travel in space. Fantastic. She's an inspiration. That's not the only part of the announcement. The other part of the announcement is the diversity word of the month.
Oh, please tell me what it is. I've been dying to know.
Privilege is the diversity word of the month. Privilege is a set of unearned benefits given to people who are in a specific social group. Privilege is granted to people who have membership in one or more of the following social identity groups: white people, able-bodied people, heterosexuals, cisgender people, males, Christians, middle or owning class people, middle-aged people, English-speaking people. These are the dragons we must slay to have an equitable society. White people, able-bodied people, heterosexuals, cisgendered, males, Christians, middle-aged people, English-speaking people. They're privileged just by being in this group. And they are our enemies because they are our oppressors. That's the subtext, of course. Well, there's a little bit of hue and cry about that portion of the statement she issued. So the next day, yesterday, she issued the following: Dear colleagues.
Oh, I didn't mean it, but I meant it. The non-apology apology, or is this a genuine apology?
The newsletter included a definition of the word privilege, which upon reflection, you reflected on it. No, you got excoriated for it from certain quarters, and now you're issuing this to dear colleagues letter.
And she's trying to keep her job.
I deeply regret it. The intent of the newsletter is to inform and support an inclusive community at Hopkins, but this language clearly did not meet that goal. Geez, boy, you wrote this whole thing, and you look at it and say, yeah, that sounds about right. That meets this goal. No, it doesn't meet this goal because it had the opposite effect of being exclusionary. I retract and disavow
the definition. Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I will work to ensure that future messages better reflect our organizational values. Well, what are they? What are those organizational values? I mean, you're just not supposed to say the things so directly that she said. But how do you have a chief diversity officer and not extol what she wrote as the organization's values? That's like saying we're going to remove the hydrogen from water.
Somebody texted in, black female chief diversity officers are more privileged than nearly everyone covered under the list. They're paid far more than the average middle-class person, and they have the privilege of being hired and treated above criticism because of their race and sex.
Yeah, Dr. Golden, an executive at Johns Hopkins, is oppressed by some middle-class white guy in Ohio.
I doubt it, yeah. Please.
For more on this and a better understanding of what we all should be reflecting upon on MLK Day, which is Monday, our friend Bob Woodson joins us. He's the founder and president of the Woodson Center and also the 1776 Project, author of Red, White, and Black, Rescuing American History from Revisionists and Race Hustlers. Bob, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on, Dan.
So, give us your review of, since we haven't spoken with you since this firestorm in the Ivy League and the donor class and like Bill Ackman and Elon Musk arguing with Mark Cuban and, all this stuff that has just been going on for a long time. It has some new entrants, but it also has a real stickiness at our institutions of allegedly higher learning as well as in corporate America. And, maybe just to stop, look, and listen from your perspective, since you have such a longitudinal understanding of this, where we are now.
Well, thank God that you have people in positions like this woman and Claudine Gay, that they're so extreme in their positions that it renders what they're saying ridiculous. And so that's the good news. And as a consequence, I think there's been a backlash in society that some of the corporations that embrace DEI training for employees are now backing off, and some of these DEI offices are closing. And what they fail to understand is that, as Shelby Field and others pointed out, that low expectations and a grievance-based worldview has trapped many low-income blacks in an intellectual prison of a self-inflicted genocide. If we keep bombarding children with the message that, particularly black children, they live in a country that hates and despises them, and they begin to believe that they are unworthy of being loved. When white children are told that they are unworthy because they are privileged and oppressors, this too can lead to self-devaluation. Hate destroys, I think, both the purveyor and its object.
Well, do you think that DEI has no place in society?
Absolutely not. What does it mean? I mean, there isn't, as Tom Sowell pointed out, there isn't even diversity within families. He says that of the 29 astronauts at the time, 21 were firstborn. Diversity. Right. Diversity is not a natural state of anything. I mean, black men are 6% of the population. They're 80% of the NBA and the NFL. There are no Asian tackles in the NFL. Is that because they get discriminated against? So in other words, whenever there's disparity and it's positive, it's overlooked. Does it mean that the NFL discriminates against white men, against Asians, against Hispanics? Or is there just a single standard of merit that blacks happen to be focused on?
The other thing,
ice hockey. There are not many blacks playing ice hockey. Does that mean that there's? So this is just a ridiculous discussion.
Well, the thing I like so much about the Johns Hopkins is the irony is completely lost on, somebody who's clearly very educated, Dr. Golden, and all of these other DEI acolytes. Mae Jemison is almost 70 years old. I'm sure she faced racism in her life, and yet whatever burdens or hurdles were put in her way, she became the first black woman to travel in space. So you have the example of Mae Jemison that you're platforming, rightly so, on Martin Luther King Day to show an example of you can do anything in this country. And at the same time, you're saying you can't do anything in this country because you're black and oppressed.
Yeah. And also, Claudine Gay went to Exeter Academy. I mean, she's at the creme of the creme when it comes to privilege in America. And she makes $900,000 a year as the ex-president of Harvard. How disadvantaged can she be?
Well, for Monday, one of the things that's so great about the work that you do and the Woodson Center does is you're trying to elevate the stories and the history that people are not as familiar with as they should be. And it's all of the success stories of black Americans despite the odds. I won't steal your lines, but you've got some great lines on this that really drive the point home. And it seems to me that one of the things that we can do on Martin Luther King Day and in this larger discussion on DEI versus the alternative is just tell stories that not enough people know.
Exactly. And our curriculum, Dan, that we developed from our essays, Red, White, and Black, it's been downloaded now 130,000 times in all 50 states. There's a thirst for content. There's a thirst for truth. Unless we have fact-based truth, then lies will become normal. And so, but there is truly a thirst for truth. And people are responding to it. Even Oregon school systems has embracing the 1776 Unites curriculum, as New Hampshire and others are waking up to the fact that America has to return to the embrace of the values of this nation. Black Americans, we have 25 blacks who were born slaves who died millionaires. And many of them couldn't even read or write. Only in America could you have this phenomenon occur. This is what we should be celebrating. People are motivated when there are victories that are possible, not injuries to be avoided.
I spoke with Shelby Steele a couple of months ago, and one of the things that he said, which is probably a shocking statement to many, particularly many that are DEI-addled, is that, look, Racism is over in America, not in the sense that there aren't racists in America, 330 million people. There are going to be some ignoramuses out there. But in terms of structural racism, de jure racism, racism under the color of law, segregation, and so forth, that is over. And the sooner there's more realization that it's over and people can focus on seizing opportunity and understanding what are sort of productive behaviors that open the doors of opportunity, the better off black, white, and everybody else is going to be. I mean, the whole idea that racism, meaning structural racism, is over, that seems to be an important message to drive discussion, because I think it, as I said, I think it will raise a lot of eyebrows in certain quarters.
No, but I think as Alan Patton said in Cry for Love Country, that it's important to replace something with something else of value. Right now, the Harvard study says that the leading cause of death of our young people, whether low income blacks, is homicide. Upper income white kids in Silicon Valley is suicide, and Appalachian whites is prescription drugs. This is the crisis that we're facing, but we'll never come together to address this problem if we're transfixed on race. It is not a race problem that we have in America. It's a grace crisis. And we need to put aside the whole issue of race so we can deal with this larger, more destructive phenomena that is occurring.
I want to make sure people can get the curriculum that Bob Woodson was describing. WoodsonCenter.org is where you go to get that curriculum that he was describing. Maybe that's something you should download in advance of Martin Luther King Day and take the occasion to distribute to people who you think would benefit from reviewing it. WoodsonCenter.org, How We Help /How We Help curriculum. But anyway, WoodsonCenter.org, and you can find their curriculum, 1776 Unites. And it's the lessons are free, so go get it. Bob Woodson, founder and president of the Woodson Center, author of Red, White, and Black, Rescuing American History from Revisionists and Race Hustlers. And get that curriculum and make sure you share it with your kids' teachers. Help Bob get it into the schools so more people do know about these stories and can share them as well. Bob, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
My son was saying, Mom, why are you paying so much for this? The supplement store has the exact same thing. And I said, no, they don't. You know, because he was telling me that they have similar products as Balance of Nature. But then when he came over to my house and he looked at the label of the Balance of Nature about all the, ingredients and everything, he realized, oh yeah, this is a superior product.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751. or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Long day. Time to charge up.
Hey, just like my delivery truck.
Even kids know to keep business moving forward, it's time to make the switch to electric vehicles. Whether you have one van or a whole fleet of trucks, resources are available to help you make the changes that make sense.
Let's go!
Beep, beep.
Go to ComEd.com/clean to learn more about how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come.
It's a new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. Hi, Amy Jacobson here. And if one of your New Year's resolutions was to do more to help others, then we want to let you know that you still have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of children in Latin America and the Caribbean through Food for the Poor. Your donation of just $80 provides food for an entire year for 2 children. That's life-changing. Just because the Christmas season is over, that doesn't mean that the need has gone away. Food for the Poor is a faith-based organization that works with partners on the ground to make sure these children are fed. You know, we talk a lot about the root causes of our immigration crisis, and one of those causes is the situation in many of these countries. This is your chance to help take care of others. To make a donation of any amount, just visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That's 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. Thanks again for your generosity.
AM 560, The Answer.
Man, we are living in a snow globe right now. It's a blizzard out here and 50-mile-per-hour winds. I don't know if you're watching at home. You can see the power going on and off and on and off. But if it goes off here, hopefully, Dan, you can handle the show by yourself, which I'm sure you can.
I'll do what I can. And coming up at 8:08, Yale law professor Jed Rubenfeld. I wonder if he ever taught Hunter. He'll be on with us to talk all of the trials and tribulations this week.
It is now 8 a.m., WIND, Chicago.
A massive anti-American protest in Yemen. And I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. And there is a sea of people gathered in the capital, Sana'a. And there have also been protests here in the U.S., angry over the American-led attack on Iran-backed Houthi militants. They vowed to retaliate, saying the U.S. and Britain will pay a heavy price.
Over 100 precision-guided munitions were used in the retaliatory strike that took place on both land and sea, targeting ammo storage production facilities used by the Iranian-backed rebels, as well as launching systems and the Houthis' air defense radar systems. That's according to U.S. Air Force Mideast Command.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff. This after 27 Houthi attacks on oil tankers and cargo ships, interrupting shipping in and around the Red Sea. Many Republicans say it's about time we took action in Yemen, but Republican Senator Lindsey Graham just told Fox.
It was strong. It was the most significant to date, but it won't change the problem. Won't change the equation. The Iranians could care less how many Houthis die, how many people from Hamas die.
Now, some Democrats are critical that President Biden didn't ask Congress to approve the military action. Israel's defending itself against allegations of genocide in Gaza at the International Court of Justice. Deputy Attorney General Gilad Noam told judges it's a cynical attempt to pervert what genocide means. He maintains the war against Hamas is justified.
The need to act forcefully against an adversary that still fire rockets deep into our country and holds our citizens hostage.
A winter storm is hitting from the northwest to the Midwest. Fox meteorologist Janice Dean says it's a blizzard in some areas.
You got the heavy snow, but then you have the blowing snow, which makes travel difficult, if not impossible.
More than 1,600 flights are canceled, a lot of them to and from Chicago, and FlightAware reports more than 1,000 delays. And that snowstorm canceled some campaign events in Iowa, where the forecast is for below zero temperatures during Monday's presidential Republican caucuses. America's listening to Fox News.
Snow and blowing snow, 32 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Yes, it's another blast of winter in winter. National Weather Service says the heavy snow is falling up to 8 inches possible. Lower amounts right along the lakefront and in northwest Indiana. But those wind speeds are up right now as we check between 32 and 36 miles an hour, and gusts have hit 46 to 50 miles an hour. Number of schools in the region have canceled classes or shifted to e-learning today. Governor J.B. Pritzker says Illinois will work on the state's gun ban registry in the weeks ahead as the law continues to face strong legal challenges. This afternoon, Southern District of Illinois federal judge Stephen McGlynn will hold a scheduling conference on the merits of a Fifth Amendment challenge against that law. Local and state officials on the southwest side calling for the city's 8th police district to be split up. They believe doing so will better serve the 250,000 residents of the district. Alderman Ray Lopez.
The southwest side isn't just understaffed, it's underpoliced. We don't have the resources to keep over 250,000 people safe on this side of town.
Officials say the 8th district is the biggest and busiest in the city and ranks number 1 for all crimes committed across Chicago. Blackhawks lost to Winnipeg 2-1. Bulls take on Steph Curry and the Warriors at the UC tonight. The Northsiders lose out on free agent pitcher Marcus Stroman. He goes to the Yankees in a 2-year, $37 million deal. Stroman grew up on Long Island. Big Ten hoops. Number 10 Fighting Illini, a win over Michigan State, 71-68. It's 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Neil Cavuto, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Oil prices rose this morning following the U.S.-led coalition launching a strike against Iran-backed Houthi rebels. Big bank earnings are coming in. J.P. Morgan Chase reported a lower profit because of fees related to last year's regional banking rescue. The bank also says the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East have the potential to disrupt energy and food markets, migration, and military and economic relationships. Bank of America had a mixed quarter. Wells Fargo's earnings matched expectations. Delta Airlines says it saw record travel demand in the holiday season, and people remain financially healthy and are eager to travel this year. Delta also says a record number of people paid for premium seats rather than getting free upgrades. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
AM 560 news time is 8:05. Problems on the rails this morning. We'll have details in 2 minutes on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
Ruby Freeman and Shea Moss, they were seeking $43 million, but a court gave them $148 million in damage because she said she was afraid after Rudy Giuliani said there was wrongdoing at the election or that they purposely committed wrongdoing. We are not to question the most obvious election theft in American history.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
If you haven't switched to Medi-Share yet, 2 big reasons to at least consider it and why it makes so much sense right now. Number 1 is inflation, which is just affecting everything. It just makes sense to say, okay, where can I actually save? Well, you can save a lot in one fell swoop if you switch to Medi-Share. The typical family saves $500 a month. Secondly, your conscience. Medi-Share members aren't forced to pay for things they don't support or believe in, and that's a big deal for a lot of people right now. They want their money to actually help people. And one more reason, you can trust Medi-Share. It's been the gold standard for healthcare sharing for more than 30 years. It works, and members love it too. It has double the member satisfaction rating compared to health insurance. So now's a great time to consider making the switch, and they are very easy to talk to. Medi-Share has great customer service. You can call now and get a price within 2 minutes. Here's the number. It's 844-47-BIBLE. That's 844-47-BIBLE. 844-47-BIBLE.
Man, you talk about hitting a grand slam, just feeling just incredible. And I mean, I haven't felt this great in years. I'm 52, and with these, wow. And I just appreciate, I'm impressed. I've never felt this great. I just want to say thank you to you guys.
Honey, I am like a different woman. I mean, finally one day I kept seeing that commercial, and I said, what the heck? What do I got to lose? I started feeling a little bit better. So I got my sister on them. I got my daughter on them. I can't say enough about them. I really can't. Those commercials that you all do is the truth.
Step into the new year with a new you. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Looking for top-notch personal protection? The Smith & Wesson Equalizer is here to level the playing field. Easy-to-rack slide, easy-to-control ergonomic grip. It's designed for you. With a 10, 13, and 15-round magazine included, size up for better control or size down for easier concealment. Don't miss out on the opportunity to upgrade your safety. Visit your local dealer now. To learn more about the Equalizer, visit smith-wesson.com. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans. All capacity sizes may not be available in your jurisdiction. Be sure to check your local laws and regulations.
Paid actor portrayal.
Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. In 10 minutes, I was covered. And boom, family protected.
Ethos fast and easy online term life insurance up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
Coming up on 8:09, let's check the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now, Dan and Amy 247.com. Let's start on the Metro Union Pacific Northwest line. You have delays of uncertain duration because you have power lines down on the tracks and inbound and outbound train movement is halted. In Wheaton this morning, Roosevelt Road east and westbound being blocked off between Beverly and Timber Trail due to fallen power lines. I-65 northbound between 113th and 109th closed because of a jackknife semi, pulling that out of your way. Veterans Memorial Toll Road is blocked on the southbound side between Findlay and Ogden as they deal with a large accident there. If you're traveling on the tri-state, you've got an exit ramp closed to northbound Halstead with an accident and disabled vehicle. Interior expressways, Dan Ryan, the worst of them, an hour and 18 from 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. We get the latest in our QC Kinetics Weather Center with Steve Williams.
A winter storm warning in effect through Saturday. Snow heavy at times today, 3 to 6 inches, high 35. Another 3 to 6 tonight, low 23. And then a coating to an inch tomorrow. Windy and the high tomorrow at 24. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Steve, thank you. 32 at O'Hare. Your next news update at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. A lot of developments with the Trump trials as well as Biden Incorporated legally this week. And so we wanted to get some expert reviews of the arguments that were made before the D.C. Appellate Court on immunity, the Supreme Court's decision to take up oral arguments in the Colorado Supreme Court ballot access question on February 8th, the potential conflict of interest that Fani Willis inflicted upon her constituents in Fulton County, Atlanta, and the country by extension. Lots to talk about, so we're pleased to be joined by Jed Rubenfeld. He's a professor of law at Yale Law School. Hey, that's Hunter Biden's alma mater.
Oh, that's nice.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
did you ever have him in class?
Wait, let me finish.
Sorry,
but it's also Clarence Thomas's, so it just shows you some people pay more attention in class than others. So it's not necessarily impugning Yale. Jed Rubenfeld is also an expert on constitutional law and the First Amendment, author of The Interpretation of Murder. Professor Rubenfeld, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Did you ever have Hunter in class?
No, I did not.
He was too busy studying tax law? Yeah. All right. You wrote an interesting piece in the Journal, Wall Street Journal, about the Colorado ballot access case, and you did some shepherdizing on the topic. And came up with an 1869 case that you think is instructive for how the Supreme Court should handle Trump's appeal. Why don't you explain?
Yeah, okay, I'll be glad to. But, it helps to take a step back here. I mean, we don't do this in America. We have never, in the entire history of this country, tried to remove, a leading candidate from the ballot, lock him up. That's third world stuff. That's banana republic stuff. And we have never done it. We haven't used the legal system to try to block folks from voting for the person of their choice. That's a hugely dangerous precedent. It's risky for democracy. And, the danger is that, it's always human beings. Judges are human beings. Prosecutors are human beings. You're going to have folks with political biases who are going to be making the decisions. And it is not a good look when 4 judges in Colorado, who are appointed by a Democratic governor, vote to remove Trump from the ballot. That looks bad. People are not going to believe that was based on law. They're going to think it's based on politics. And the point I made in the Wall Street Journal piece is, yeah, it kind of was based not on law but on politics, because we don't have any law here. That's the problem. This provision from the Constitution, the 14th Amendment's been on the books since 1866, and there's basically no law that's ever been decided under it. So judges are making it up on the fly. But way back a long time ago, 1868, 1869, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States wrote an opinion called Griffin, and he said, look, you can't enforce this disqualification provision of the 14th Amendment unless you have some procedures that are laid out by Congress in advance. You got to have a statute. Once Congress has passed a statute, said the Supreme Court Chief Justice Chase in 1869, once they've passed a statute, okay, then fine, you can bring these cases, follow the procedures laid out. Otherwise, judges and courts are going to be making this stuff up on the fly, and we're not going to allow that. So he said that back in 1869, and honestly, I think that's the right way for the current Supreme Court to go, to follow his lead and say, look, once we have some procedures laid out in advance, so everybody's, it's all in a level playing field, and nobody is treated differently from anybody else, then you can, that's how you can and should enforce the provision of the 14th Amendment if you, do so at all. I'll just note that, 14th Amendment disqualification provision, that's for insurrection. And one thing that Donald Trump has not been charged with anywhere in the country is insurrection. I mean, the special prosecutor has not charged him with that offense. And yet you got these, state court judges and state secretaries of state who are making up their own minds about that. So, it's a bad look. It's a bad situation.
Well, speaking of insurrection, what about 2020 Black Lives Matter riots where, different government officials from Presley to Kamala Harris were pretty much suggesting that they're not going to stop and that people should join the fight?
Well, exactly. And that's a point I made in that Wall Street Journal piece. What is an insurrection? Again, we have no law on this, and that's part of that's part of the problem with applying new rules to Donald Trump. I mean, whatever rules or definition courts come up with, have they applied them in the past? Have they applied them fairly? Are they being applied across the board, or is it a giant double standard? And yeah, I raised that question. I mean, if you define insurrection very broadly, I don't know why the BLM riots of 2020 are not an insurrection. And yeah, you had politicians who were encouraging it, arguably. And so, that's why whatever rules you come up with, that's why there has to be a procedure in advance. It can't look like, hey, all of a sudden we're making up new rules and applying them to Donald Trump, and we never applied them in the past, and we're never going to, but for him we're going to apply them. Because, we don't know what an insurrection is, but there's a perfectly good case that the 2020 riots were an insurrection, and there's plenty of people who think that January 6th was not.
Well, the other thing, too, it seems to me a bit ironic. It seems at one time they're interpreting the 14th Amendment and the Colorado State Supreme Court, I'm saying, essentially saying, this is to govern under the proper understanding of the 14th Amendment. And at the same time, it seems to me they're violating Trump's due process rights by making a conclusion that hasn't come through due process in terms of adjudicating the charges against him. So they're end running his due process to uphold due process.
That's a very good point. Well, so that's one of the issues. When I say there need to be rules laid out in advance, there's got to be decisions made about what kind of process is due when you're trying to enforce this disqualification provision under the 14th Amendment, which we have, almost no law on. So there is a statute. Congress has passed a statute saying that federal prosecutors can bring an insurrection charge against somebody, and if they prove it and convict the guy beyond a reasonable doubt, then that person is disqualified from federal office. It basically tracks the language of the 14th Amendment. Now, that statute suggests that the kind of due process that's required here is a criminal trial. And, if you can prove to 12 jurors that there's been an insurrection and that this person engaged in it beyond a reasonable doubt, then you've got the due process that criminal law requires. Now, I'll just add that the Constitution does not itself say that. So 14th Amendment Section 3 does not say there must be a criminal trial. But the one federal statute we have on the books now does call for a criminal trial. And by the way, Congress passed a statute 150 years ago saying, laying out a procedure which would not have required a criminal trial. But they got rid of it. They repealed that. So for a while, we had that provision out there, and we don't have it anymore. Now the only statute we do have requires a criminal trial. And if you go under that, you have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And there has been nothing like that kind of due process so far in any of these cases. The Colorado case, the Maine Secretary of State's decision, and so forth.
The Fani Willis matter in Fulton County, Georgia, and the appointment of her paramour to be special prosecutor, where she's approving his payments to him and his bills and so forth. A number of legal scholars have said, well, if this is true, as has been represented in court filings, then it's definitely an ethical breach. Is that an ethical breach that would preclude, in your mind, the ability of that case to go forward for her to prosecute Trump and his cohorts under the racketeering charges that she's filed?
I'm going to be honest with you here. I don't like to opine on something where I don't know the facts. Well, none of us knows the facts. And everybody, I know a lot of law professors, they want to jump in and say, oh, this is an outrage. It's an ethical violation. Sure, sounds like one based on the headlines, but I don't want to get in the business of convicting somebody before we know the basic facts, if there's any evidence. So, to answer your legal question, it's unlikely that this would derail the entire prosecution. They might, at worst, they might have to appoint somebody else to oversee it, something like that. But, even that we don't know. Even that will depend on facts. So I just feel it's too early to be trying to jump in there and say what's going to happen or what should happen.
Fair enough. He is Professor Jed Rubenfeld, professor of law at Yale Law School, expert on con law and the First Amendment, author of The Interpretation of Murder. Professor Rubenfeld, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was great.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter from hosts worth watching. Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel. Not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
There's no better time than the new year to help protect your identity and finances. LifeLock detects potential threats to your identity that you may miss on your own. If you do become a victim, a U.S.-based LifeLock restoration specialist will work to fix it. LifeLock is the New Year's resolution that's easy to keep. Save 25% off your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock or go to lifelock.com. Promo code CLAY to save 25%. That's lifelock.com. Promo code CLAY.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Man, you talk about hitting a grand slam, just feeling just incredible. And I haven't felt this great in years. I'm 52, and with these, wow. And I just appreciate, I'm impressed. I've never felt this great. I just want to say thank you to you guys.
Honey, I am like a different woman. Finally one day I kept seeing that commercial and I said, what the heck? What do I got to lose? I started feeling a little bit better. So I got my sister on them. I got my daughter on them. I can't say enough about them. I really can't. Those commercials that you all do is the truth.
Step into the new year with a new you. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Cooler weather is here. Is your vehicle ready for the winter? Remke's Garage, your diesel engine and transmission specialist, can inspect your vehicle so you won't end up on the side of the road. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. The shop at Remke's Garage is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. When was the last time you changed your filters, checked your batteries, inspected your tires, belts and hoses, or flushed your coolant? Be prepared. Bring your Mercedes Sprinter, Ford Power Stroke, Dodge Cummins, Chevy Duramax, or Isuzu diesel truck to Remke's Garage and have your tires inspected as well. Ask about the Fleetworthy commercial-grade Toyo Celsius Cargo all-weather tire, the premier tire to accommodate the rainy, icy, snowy, and cold weather we encounter here in the Chicagoland area. Don't get stuck. Remke's Garage is your diesel and Toyo tire headquarters. Visit remkesgarage.com, that's REMKES garage.com, and schedule your inspection today.
Long day. Time to charge up.
Hey, just like my delivery truck.
Even kids know to keep business moving forward, it's time to make the switch to electric vehicles. Whether you have one van or a whole fleet of trucks, resources are available to help you make the changes that make sense.
Let's go.
Beep, beep.
Go to ComEd.com/clean to learn more about how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come.
AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call in now! Open mic Friday!
Yes, indeed. It is time for our installment of Open Mic Friday, that is, where we take your calls. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line with comments, compliments, concerns, criticisms, general crack pottery. We'll take it all. But first, we kick off Open Mic Friday, as we always do, sponsored by turnkey.pro, with turnkey.pro founder David Kolsak. David, welcome.
Good morning. I'm down in beautiful West Lafayette, Indiana today.
Lovely this time of year.
Did you go to the Iowa-Purdue girls basketball game last night?
I did not, unfortunately. I missed that one, but I did get here early ahead of the snowstorm. It's Dad's Day down here at Stigmakheim. I'm seeing my son, so I had to get down a little early, and we're going to see a very angry basketball team tomorrow playing Penn State. So it'll be fun if you ever get a chance to get to Mackey Arena. It's really quite a great place. But anyway,
yeah, very disappointing loss against Nebraska, by the way.
Oh my God! Ugh.
As if losing to Northwestern wasn't embarrassing enough.
Why'd you have to bring
I know. Well, keep rubbing it in. That's great.
I
And
will.
by the way,
Yes.
Sean did a great job last week. He's still trying to prove that he's from Chicago, talking about Chicago politics, but we all know, right? So anyway, first and foremost, I want to say that I'm spending my time this weekend to gather data on the game that, Dan, you proposed a couple days ago. I'm here to ask the young adults at Purdue to name something that they believe in but aren't allowed to say, and something they don't believe in but have to say. So far, I'm not writing anything down because the answers are pretty spicy. I'll get back to you on the anecdotal research once it's completed. But secondly, I want to say I have a theory, or one that I heard, and I thought I would share, that owning chickens will make you a conservative, right? Don't laugh. So you say to your spouse or person, as they say, they don't say spouse anymore, your person, you decide that it might be a good idea to own chickens. You've heard that they're low maintenance and they're easy to care for. They produce an egg a day, great. So you build a coop. for a couple $100 and you buy a couple chickens. First, the chickens, they lay some eggs and you're elated. You're like, hey, look what we did. Then you and your person, you crack open an egg for breakfast. And the first thing you notice is that the yolk is more orange than yellow and they taste great. You think, yes, these eggs are way better than the ones I've been buying for decades at the store. Then you do a little research and you find out that freshness, diet control of the chickens, and the lack of hormones and antibiotics have a direct impact on the taste. Not to mention the idea that, you really like the idea that your chickens have friends, right? So now you start looking at other things in your diet, and you realize that maybe it's better to bake your own bread instead of buying bread that's been loaded with preservatives at the store. So you become a sourdough baking expert. Then you start looking at all the processed food that's staring you in the face and marketed to you every day. Think of the commercials on TV where the Asian mother kisses the black father and sends their Mexican child off to school with some sort of Pop-Tart, right? So,
yes.
Buying all those chickens makes you rethink about the convenient foods that you've been poisoning your body with for years. So then you plant a garden, right? So then you look at the food pyramid where we're all taught in school. Remember that, the food pyramid? Remember the grains and cereals at the bottom, right? That's what they want us to eat the most of, grains and cereals. Then you have the fruits and vegetables, and then the meats and eggs and chicken and dairy. And on top of that is oil, fat, salts, and sweets. I had to look that up. But suddenly it all seems backwards because you got these chickens, and somehow it's maybe a trick to make you fat and dependent on the healthcare system where you get a pill for everything. So suddenly, boom, you realize you're conservative. Next stop, we never landed on the moon, right? So...
yeah, it's an obvious jump. David, I'm just hold on a second. You lost me at spouse. So could you repeat all that in terms of how that works?
Well, if you watch any of these shows on TV, the reality shows, they say that you're not looking for a partner. You're not looking for someone of the opposite sex. You're looking for your person. So
you're looking for a co-farmer, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm really not, and I actually don't own chickens in all full disclosure. But okay, so I was just in Mexico for the New Year, where there's a pharmacy just like on every corner in every little town, right? You can walk into the pharmacy and get a Z-Pack. You can buy Xanax, codeine, EpiPens, diabetic supplies, you name it, you can buy it there. And a Z-Pack costs about $20. You walk in, you say, "Can I have a Z-Pack?" They say, "Seguro," and you buy it for $20 or 200 pesos. Anyway, so now juxtapose that with the system here. You get sick, you make an appointment to see your doctor, you're treated like a leopard before you get in, and they're happy to collect the $50 copay or whatever it is, and then they bill your insurance company a couple $100, but they're really not happy to see you. You could have used Teladoc, they tell you, but, then they run blood work so they can bill them more. The insurance company more. Then your doctor reluctantly offers you a prescription for an antibiotic, and you go to your local CVS or your Walgreens or a big box store because, none of the mom and pop pharmacies that we all grew up around, they're all gone. They're just gone. Anyway, then there you walk in and you're bombarded with the same gas station sushi, unhealthy chips, candies, candy bars, and you fight your way to pick up your prescription, right? Yeah. And you're passing by the sad people waiting in line to get quadruple jabbed while you just shake your head in pity, right? You're like, finally, you get to pay another copay, and you see that your insurance company gets billed for another $100 for the antibiotics that you just got. So the conservative chicken owner, to get back to that, now finds his way down to Mexico to become a mule for all of his family and friends. I know I do that all the time. Anyway, so finally and lastly this week, I want to talk about the OK sign. Remember that when it meant OK? Remember the OK sign?
Right. Okay.
When we were kids, we used to play that game, that stupid game where you flash the OK sign to your friend, maybe under your desk or at lunch. Remember that game? Yep. And if they looked at your OK sign, you got to punch them in the arm. However, if they busted you by putting their finger through your OK sign, they got to punch you. It was a stupid game, but without iPads and all kinds of stuff, it's just kind of, we had nothing else to do. But anyway, so at some point, the OK sign became a sign for the elite. You put your eye in the middle of your OK sign, and suddenly we all know you're in the Illuminati, right? So the OK sign also became a sign of racism. When you display your OK sign in just the right way, it forms a WP. It's a stretch for me anyway, which means, of course, white power. You remember when Doug Blandville was reporting in the batter's eye at Wrigley Field and some dude in the background flashed the OK sign? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
A few years ago. And the outrage was like the racism was crazy, and that guy was not only kicked out of the stadium, he was banned by Theo Epstein for life. So now I'm watching Purdue get its brains beaten in last week at Nebraska, and every time someone hits a three-point shot, and there were a lot of them, right, by especially Nebraska, the players almost in unison would hold their hands up and make that racist OK sign, and I was confused. At the bottom of the screen when this graphic came up with the OK sign, it would kind of slink up and go back down. And it was actually, for 3 points, for a three-point shot. But you get my point. Anyway, a smart person a person is smart, but people are stupid. That's a really interesting thing. A person is smart, but people are stupid. So it's okay to use the okay sign. Do it, I dare you. A lot's happened already this year, and it's looking to be a wild ride. So one piece of advice for all of our friends out there is become a chicken advocate, right? Tell all your liberal friends to get some chickens. It'll make the world a better place, at least the more conservative one. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much, David.
always.
Appreciate that. Lots of process there. No pun intended. Actually, it was intended. But Doug Glanville got his because his wife went on one of those ghastly Real Housewives show and then divorced him. Yeah, right? That happened.
It did? Okay.
Yeah, didn't that? I think so. I'm still, that was a detailed explanation, or it was a detailed story. I'm not sure how I understand that gets you to being a conservative, though. Did you catch that? I don't. I'm trying to.
But it's good. It's a great rant as always. Yes.
I was waiting for because it represents a certain value system or something. I don't know, but I'll tell you what it does do. Provides the perfect segue to something I wanted to get to all week. Taylor Sheridan, he's the creator of Yellowstone and Tulsa King and Mayor of Kingstown, and
you don't have to tell me, sister, and he's easy on the eyes.
He sure is.
Ride
Anyway,
bareback anytime with that guy.
Okay, Lady Godiva. So Taylor Sheridan was on with Rogan, and he went off on vegans. I forget, whether you're, no GMO and all that other stuff that Kolsak was talking about, or you're just a hearty meat and potatoes guy. That's how you know you're conservative. You're not a vegan.
I think one of the most absurd positions anyone can take is they're a vegan for an ethical reason. It's preposterous. You could do it for a medical reason, even though I don't know what that reason would be, but maybe you can't process, meat, you can't process proteins like that. But to do it from an ethical reason is absurd. And the reason I say that is I have plowed a field. It is carnage. It is 12 feet of carnage. And every single plant that you eat is going to be tilled into the ground in some capacity. So you're going to kill everything when you plow that field.
Famous conversation that Kevin Costner has in Yellowstone.
That's why I wrote it.
Yeah.
Was people have to understand. You have to take ownership.
That same thing, Ted Nugent has said this on this podcast. He said, if you want to kill the most things, become a vegan.
Yeah, 100%.
If you're thinking about individual life, if you don't think that one life equals one life, if you think that small things aren't as valuable as large things, that's a totally different discussion, and that's a weird discussion. But if you think that all life is sacred, well, what about the lives of the ground nesting birds, fawns?
Yeah.
What about the lives of rodents, insects? All those things are getting demolished.
The average organic avocado farm in Central California is going to kill, on average, around 19,000 ground squirrels a year. That's not counting the billions of bees, because they're going to bring the bees up from Brazil to pollinate the trees, and then they're going to die. They're not sending them back anywhere. They're not keeping them no, they're gone. They're going to spray with some organic, which is probably just like compressed cayenne pepper. They're going to spray the trees. They're going to kill every bug, every plant, everything. All you got to do is drive I-5 through the San Joaquin Valley, and you'll see plenty of almonds. You'll see plenty of all these different groves. You won't see any birds. You won't see anything else.
Yeah.
They killed them all.
It's very, very graphic, but Taylor Sheridan has very specific knowledge of this. He's a real cowboy or farmer or rancher or some combination of all of the above. Anyway, it also speaks to why PETA may be the most ridiculous leftist organization on the planet, and there's a lot of competition for that. But remember Ingrid Newkirk, who's the lunatic that runs that ridiculous organization, with the you want to talk about tone deaf. The billboard campaign they did several years back, where like they had a picture of breakfast, including those eggs that David was talking about, and the headline was "Holocaust on a Plate." Yeah.
Yes, I remember that.
That's the absolute lunatics. These vegans who do it for ethical reasons, as Taylor Sheridan said. All right.
Okay. Well, can I talk about something?
Yeah.
Do we have time? Oh, we do. I want to talk about testosterone and communism. Because
if you have low testosterone, you're a communist. There's a direct correlation,
No.
chickens and conservatism.
I was confronted face on with communism, and my testosterone level was too high, and I almost hit this Russian woman over the head with a tequila bottle. I'm talking about vacation. We went to the same place. We always go to the same place, the Riu Palace Peninsula, whatever, and because they have a great volleyball court. And the rules for the last 9 years, your team wins, you stay on the court. It's been like that since the beginning of time.
You go on vacation to play volleyball?
Oh yeah, all day and all night. And yeah, I'm obsessed. And I've gotten much better, by the way. Anywho,
interesting.
Well, because the kids love to do it, and I like to spend time with them. So, we played the Norwegian family. We won. We played the Brazilian family, the Guatemalan family via Canada. People are there from all over the world. The Northbrook family, and so
wow, they come from as far as Northbrook.
They do.
Okay.
So
All right.
so we were there for hours because we were winning, and the Russians come in and they're like, no, we are done. Get out. All of you out. And I said, no, we're not leaving. And then the Rio instructor was there saying, no, if you win, you stay. And then if there's a lot of people waiting to play, you play to 15 instead of 21. The Russians, they would not move. They literally took over our spot. So I looked at my kids and I'm like, see, this is communism. You get a front row to communism right here and right now. And so you know what we did? We left, but we took our volleyball with us because it was our own personal volleyball. Like, now nobody gets to play. And the Norwegians were on our side. Everybody was. Then the family from Louisville, they were outraged. Family from Minnesota. It was just. But then I got my testosterone. I couldn't control. And the girl from Louisville was so sweet. Because I grabbed my tequila bottle and I wasn't even drinking. I'm like, I'm going to hit that Russian woman over the head with my tequila bottle. I've got to control my testosterone.
And then the Russian woman said, "I must break you."
It was just.
And then the crowd started chanting, "Rocky!" Oh no, that's a different.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that's Russians.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me get that off my chest.
All right, and whatever it takes
They
to
ruined the
lower
whole
your
day from
testosterone
everybody.
level. Yeah. All right, let's take a couple calls. We have to get to the Scots too, since we're traversing the globe, but I'll wait for that. Well, I mean, since we're sort of has an international flavor, this discussion, we're pleased to be joined again by the Prime Minister of Ireland, who for some reason is still stationed in Ogden Dunes, Indiana. Prime Minister.
Wonderful news. We've got the great Governor J.B. Lizzo now focused on turning around this so-called exodus of taxpayers deserting Illinois. With the same top-drawer idea leadership short-fingered Sister Penny brought to Harvard. Plus, we brought in those whimsical Disneyland consultants. JB's campaign has crafted 3 surefire initiatives guaranteeing jobs aplenty as he transforms Illinois into a Las Vegas-type international tourist mecca. First idea, a dynamic new state motto. Illinois, the S is silent. Idea number 2, Amy, you know those escape rooms so popular with the youngsters?
Yes.
How about we designate Englewood, an entire neighborhood, one massive escape room?
Okay,
Next idea.
Yes.
The best idea. With a political nod to the LGBT, JB himself will make Starved Rock America's largest nudist colony. We'll sell packages alongside Southwest Airlines with the motto, the bigger, the better. And to show he's all in, both on public nudity and the inflationary benefits of Bidenomics, at ribbon cutting for the nation's best locale for structural nudism, Governor Lizzo will perform on stage, Lululemon leaves a sour taste, in a spandex beige nude unisex onesie. He'll share the mic with a specially reinforced stage with that great crooner and troubadour, the Joker, Steve Miller. And Dan and Amy, do you know what they'll sing?
I don't.
Your cash ain't nothing but trash. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
Whew, that was
LGBLT. Kevin in Austin, Texas.
I went from a chicken to a
a vegan to playing volleyball.
Yeah, it's eclectic this morning. Yeah,
20 minutes, and when you're talking about the Rocky thing, I thought of Rocky and Bullwinkle. That's how my mind was traveling, is listening to all this.
Well, it's Open Mic Friday. Just expect the unexpected,
I love it.
right?
I love it. No, I'm not complaining at all.
Okay, good.
It's been amazing. I did want to ask you, because I was listening earlier, you had Fauci on, or the story about Fauci, and then the Burridge guy who's Republican, who is even now with the legal immigration, still trying to virtue signal, saying, so he doesn't want to be a bad guy. I'm curious, after all that, because I first started listening to you guys when COVID started. I started working from home. I've got brothers up there, so you got to listen to this. These guys are hilarious. And I was curious, and back then people were getting involved in the Republican Party, or at least in the grassroots, and parents were getting involved because they saw how education had changed from when they went to school. Watching everybody online, or their kids online, that type of thing. I did too. Where's the enthusiasm? Is there still enthusiasm in the grassroots of the Republican Party? I got involved down here. I'm a precinct chair in Williamson County. It's like I'm a suburb of Austin. And I'm curious if there's any enthusiasm up there in Chicago, because I really believe, listening up there, that there are 4 congressional districts that could be won or flipped in Illinois if people got involved. And just correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just curious, what's the state of enthusiasm to kind of change things up in Illinois?
Thanks for the call, Kevin. I can't say that it's perceptible, not to me. And I don't know. I talk to a lot of Republican regulars, particularly sort of movement conservatives. Jeannie Ives might have a better handle on this based on how much participation she's getting with that pro-family referendum question she's trying to get on the ballot, since they're in the process of circulating to get the necessary signatures. But, you have to do things to generate enthusiasm. And there hasn't even been a Republican message of any significance on pick a topic, any topic, but maybe think about the topic that has the most intensity right now, which is the sanctuary city state and the migrant issue. Where is it? Maybe if you had this idea that was sort of simultaneously imagined by both me and members of the House Republican Freedom Caucus to provide daily briefings / information and circulated about the arrival of migrants and the costs associated and so forth, maybe that you could build community around that information, like we talked about with the state legislator from Peoria that we spoke to earlier in the program today. But I mean, you have to take positions on things. You have to put in the fight. You have to do concrete things and enlist other people to do those concrete things with you. And outside of the pro-family petition, parents' rights petition, I can't point to anything else that is underway. Sorry to say. Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Dan and Amy. I wanted to comment on this Eco Health Alliance. Peter Daszak. He's friends with Dr. Fauci.
Oh, yeah.
They suspended the funding, but they're resuming the funding. So who's doing that? I mean, is it Fauci or is it the
Well,
Biden
Fauci's gone. Collins is gone. But, new boss, same as the old boss, like Chicago. So that Mandy Cohn at CDC, and I'm blanking on the new NIH director. But, I mean, yeah, they're COVIDian functionaries that are, of course. I mean, why would they? Why wouldn't they, I should say? What, have they been chastened? No. These are their allies. Thanks for the call, Eduardo. And it's a reminder to go check out my piece on the former NIH director, Francis Collins, at johncastnews.com, which posted this morning. That'll perhaps explain why things are moving along just as they did previously. Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Always good talking to you. I missed an opportunity to discuss the topic with you yesterday, and then this morning you broached it with Brett Baer. The topic is the deportation of the migrants. I've heard Trump and DeSantis and even Haley all wishing to deport the migrants, but I'm wondering how this is going to be accomplished. Let me give a shout out to Frank of Arlington Heights, our history expert. Could he offer a history lesson on Eisenhower's Operation Wetback of the 50s? I only know a little bit about this history where the temporary Mexican workers were all returned back to Mexico in the 50s. I'm wondering how that worked out. And now today, what are we going to see if a Republican is elected president and the Republicans take control of Congress? How are the migrants going to be returned? You got any ideas?
Well, I won't. Thanks for the call, Bob. I've offered my ideas on the topic a lot this week, and sort of what is realistic, and doing things in a sequential way that would be popular and thus give impetus for Republicans to act were they to secure control of Congress and the presidency in November. But there's right. I mean, the story of immigration and immigration policy in the United States is a complicated one where there have been some good initiatives and some terrible initiatives, where there has been where some of the policies have been infused with racism, which of course I do not support in our history. So it's been the good, the bad, and the ugly, to borrow from Clint Eastwood, with respect to immigration policy. So, yeah, I think there are some historical precedents that we could discuss to see if they have applicability to 2024. But even still, we sort of know what to do in real time. It's never been, I say this all the time because it's what most of these challenges are. It's not like we don't know what to do. It's we don't have the political will to do what we know should be done. That's more the issue than we need another comprehensive study or blue ribbon commission to come up with all the best ideas. We have a pretty good idea what works and what's sensible and what's fair, and a pretty good idea about what isn't. Brian in Wheatfield, Indiana.
Hey, Dan, Amy, I want to have a new rule for AM 560 listeners and especially the host that when we say the year, we don't do 2024. We just say 2024. We speak proper English. It's not, COVID wasn't in 2020. Ronald Reagan wasn't the president in 1982. It's driving me nuts.
All right.
The years are the right way.
All right. Thanks, Brian from Wheatfield, Indiana, our grammarian. Let's go from our grammarian to our poet laureate. The poet laureate of Chicago's Morning Answer is Joe from Arlington Heights.
Good morning. So Tuesday, I'm walking my dog at just around 7:30, and you're talking about transgender impacts on children in schools, and Jordan from Antioch calls, and he's all fired up. And who are these people? Well, when he's calling and saying that, I'm standing in front of a house that's got one of these "What We Believe" signs in front of it.
Were you in Western Springs by any chance, in front of the mayor's house? Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you, don't worry, we got plenty here. So I came home and I penned a little poem called Front Yard Signs. My pillow's soft and blanket warm, but I do not set my alarm. Sleepless concerns swirl round about the neighbors in my town. Proudly placing front yard signs to claim moral superiority to mine. God has been remade by them, placing their image onto him. Love is love by cost. Our family structure slowly lost. The first institution of the human race is now by fools laid to waste. And the little ones, filthy lessons they must learn as schools are conquered by the queer. With books meant to innocent destroy, make young girls wish they were boys. Hey guys, use any bathroom you wish to claim, as perverted predators take their aim to molest the tender as their prey, then transferred to rape another day. And no one is illegal, so they claim. Open the borders because we're all the same. Citizenship no longer reigns, as our schools alien shelters became. I cringe as I pass these signs each day with their false virtue display. Society's very essence and core must now stand and fight and more. God and family and country is the way, and must be our focus every day. Eternal lines must not be redrawn by evil signs on your neighbor's lawn.
Very good, Joe. Thanks for
Very
that.
good.
Very thoughtful and well constructed as always. That's why you're our poet laureate.
Thank you, and have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you, Joe. Since he brought it up, I did want to just mention this new bill in Scotland, as the West continues to
This is so gross.
self-immolate.
Well, it better not happen here, but now it might.
The new law would cover two situations. When someone provides a service that intends to change or suppress another person's sexual orientation or gender identity, or where someone keeps pressuring or forcing someone to change or suppress themselves. The behavior will have to be about one specific person. The purpose of the behavior must be to change or suppress the other person's gender identity or sexual orientation. Maximum of 12 months in prison for lesser offenses. A fine of not more than £10,000, or both. Where the offense is more serious, the penalty would be up to 7 years in prison, a fine that has no limit, or both. Now you say, well, sure, nobody should pressure anyone to change or suppress their identity, but you understand how this actually plays out in practice. If you don't address somebody by their preferred pronouns, is that attempting to suppress another person's gender identity? That seems to be the attitude in Western Europe, generally speaking. So now you're talking about prison time? I mean, California is a stone's throw from this.
That's the last time you'll slap your willy around.
Yeah, well, so I figured groundskeeper Willie would not be happy with that.
You know what I've been wanting to play? The Stephen Hawking Family Guy.
Nah,
I missed it.
You can't just play it with.
I know,
you
but
can't play it out of nowhere. You have to
I'm
have
speaking it non sequiturs today because it's a snow globe out there, and driving home is going to be boring and a bit scary. But you were gone off that one day when it came down that he was on the island.
Yeah.
And might have participated.
Allegedly.
Oh yes, of course. No, allegedly.
And allegedly participated in an orgy. Okay. That whole Epstein list and Epstein documents thing is really confusing. But the thing that isn't, this is also confusing. It's sort of confounding. Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for 20 years for sex trafficking, but she didn't sex traffic anybody to anybody. She didn't sex traffic the people she sex trafficked to anybody in particular.
Yeah, give me a break. And I think that this is coming to light because the depositions were taken back in 2016 because they're trying to take down Trump, but Trump had nothing to do. I mean, of course he knew everybody knows everybody in West Palm, but cut him out.
I don't know. Mary Kay, Western Springs.
Hi, I got to go to the reliable source that told me that illegals are being housed in the church here in Western Springs on 47th Street. So if you don't know that already, you can contact the village and ask more about that. And I'm going to forget about the illegals this weekend. We have a pickleball problem in Western Springs.
Uh-oh.
Big time pickleball problem. Yeah, we do. You're talking about volleyball, Amy.
Yeah.
So we have.
Is it the Russians again? Yeah.
There's a Russian there. Anyway, the court is reserved. I'm not kidding. The court's reserved for advanced play only, 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. spring, summer, winter, and fall. Right. So maybe in the winter. So beginners and intermediate players aren't allowed on that court in the morning ever. Now, this is a court down the street from my house. I'm an intermediate player. I invited you to come play, Dan. I want you to come. And I'm all for park districts are open to everybody, but it's the equity of dividing up the time on the court. And, the whole country's got a pickleball frickin' problem because the sport is wildly popular. So I'm going to come to the park district meeting. I've been there several times, spouting my mouth off. Go ahead, Dan. What do you have to say?
Well, your uptown pickleball problems in Western Springs. It's not exactly, the Western civilization isn't exactly hanging in the balance on that. But I appreciate
I know,
it.
but I have to have a different cause. The
right,
legals
all
are
right.
here. They're in the church, whatever. We're doing Parents Matter, coalition.org. If anybody wants to help me go door to door, I'm doing that too. I mean, I'm doing my part, Dan.
All right. You earned your pickleball slot then. Okay, fair enough. Thanks for the call, Mary Kay. James in Naples.
Hello. Before I get to a point on your golf outing in Naples, I just want to say that I don't want to burst your bubble, but the gentleman who calls in from Ogden Dunes is not actually the Irish Prime Minister.
Is that right?
The reason I know that is Joe Biden recently said to be Irish Prime Minister, you have to speak with a slight Indian accent. But on behalf of those that listen from 6 to 10 every day, that's the Dan and Amy diaspora who fled to Naples and are in refugee camps right now.
Mm-hmm.
As a win-win, Dan, you could host a golf outing where you don't have you just have to put it on your account, but everyone who comes pays for their breakfast, their golf, their caddy, their dinner, their drinks. That goes against your minimum, and then we all get to have a round of golf at your lovely course.
That's a great idea for you, for me. Thanks for the call, James. Yeah, I'll give that the consideration it deserves. Ralph in Rantoul.
Yeah, good morning. I know we're short on time here, so I'm going to play Beat the Clock. I had a longer story. I started a new term, and I'm trying to unmush the mushy heads of the seniors getting out of this overpriced university. And again, we're talking about social systems and government, and I'll just sum it up by this. A haiku, not as eloquent as Joe, but it's shorter. Don't be a Marxist. They will run your life by force. Okay, sign me up.
Very good. Thanks for the call, Ralph. Well, we got a haiku this morning, too. I wasn't expecting that. All right, Chuck and Delavan to close it out.
Hey, back to chickens. That guy was a genius. Everybody look at Mother Earth News 2007. The difference between a free-range chicken and a regular chicken in the grocery store, no arsenic by the form of arsine, and no tetracycline. That guy's a genius. Anyway, I'm actually shoveling snow right now in my thong bikini in front of my farmhouse right now, trying to bring back summer. So everybody keep having a good weekend and stay out of trouble.
Thanks for the call, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks so much to Justin Kosick, our technical producer, and Quinn McCarthy, our executive producer. Be safe out there. Woohoo! Just drive slow and have a wonderful weekend. And now it's about 9 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
We won't hesitate to do it.